Hey guys, I had a little break between clients, so I want to talk about Piscateer Lake in Dalton. I think this is very, very, very important that we learn about our history, especially for homeowners, new people that came to Dalton. I actually spoke with a trustee that didn't even know this was a thing. I spoke with another trustee, former trustee as well. They did not know that this was a thing. They didn't know about the hostess. They didn't know about pop staples. They didn't know about the music museum. So that's why I'm here, not to be like I'm the end all be all of Dalton. It's just that black people, especially black and brown, we hear the super mayor say that. But now this is a majority black community, 95% black. It's not a impoverished community. And I'm welcome to Burgundy Blue Commentary, where we talk about what we want to talk about when we want to talk about it. Hey, Sammy. Hey. So Dalton isn't an impoverished community, but it's a community that we are at need of a food bank. It's not a bad community, but it's a community where it has been killings. Okay. I'm trying to give the people on the outside on why it's important for certain things that are going on in Dalton to happen, and that you guys will be supporting us as um Dalton villagers, if you will. You will be supporting us in the long run, right? So I think it's only fair that you know about the real Dalton from a burgundy blue perspective. Now, you guys, I wasn't jiving on my girl, and you know I'm old if I said that. I wasn't acting like a jive turkey, Della Creme Della, when I was saying that she was on for 12 hours. It can go that long for you trying to explain what's going on in Dalton. To explain one board meeting, I have been on the phone call with hours with my good girlfriends. Like, did you see that? Did you see that? So making sure you know this is from that everyone's going to have a different perspective when it comes to the village of Dalton. And it could be from class. I'm not trying to be wrong. I'm not trying to um nitpick. You'll see certain people come to the board meeting with Louis Vuitton and Gucci and things that I'm not trying to nitpick, but if your medium income people are saying it's $25,000, a lot of us can't afford that. You understand? If we need a food bank, a lot of us can't afford that. So it could be class. You'll see certain sides of Dalton will be the older side of Dalton. I've talked about that. The newer side of Dalton, the Dalton west side of Dalton, I'm gonna say southwest, which is closer to South Holland. That's the more ritzy area of Dalton. And then you got like downtown Dalton, which is where the village hall is. That's the older part of Dalton where the houses are not as new. Even though Dalton is only 4 miles, would you believe it's a class in Dalton? Like people be like, oh, she's part of this and she's part of that. It is a thing. So let's start here. So this is Burgundy Blue perspective. I always wanted you to guys to find out for your own self, your perspective, what's going on. Um, People work hard, people serve hard, so I'm not judging. But let's start here with this Piscateer Lake. Speaking of class, did you know that that Dalton is 95% black and it's hey Ted, hey Spiky. Let me see if you guys knew this. Did you guys know that Dalton is 95% black? And it's a lake that black people are not allowed to be a member of. And that would be Piscateer Lake. Now, I want to be clear. This is why it's important, not just my stream, anybody's stream, that our smaller creators support them. because the larger creators who we love, I love them. Pink Book Lesson, O'Shea Duke Jackson. Y'all know I followed Hannibal since the beginning. It's so many of them. Nate the Lawyer. But the larger creators don't have time to delve into the insides. They're basically getting their information from us, people who feed the information, or them, people who feed the information. Did you know it's 95% black in Dalton, and it was only it's only been since the 90s, right before blacks were allowed to come to Dalton, that they shut the lake down. The lake is fully loaded with an arcade, gaming. Now, I'm not going to say that this lake is just that this club Piscateers is just putting it against black people. Jewish people, Hispanic people, and women were not allowed to be a part of this club. Now, I don't know what's changed, but I'm going to double down, but I'm not going to put too much on you at once. And this can be, what do my girl Tiffany say? Fact check, case and study. This could be fact check. It's actually two lakes in Dalton that black people were not welcome. But let's focus on Piscateer Lake. And I think this is important. And I said individual investor actually covered this, so I will cover that video as well. But let's start here. And I think it's interesting for people to look at how the lake was sold for only $160,000 in the early 90s. And they rule this lake. And the only other mayor that tried to get the lake was Shaw. He tried to fight for the lake, but it was ironclad. So let's go ahead. I don't know if I should start with my video and individual investor video, because he is really, really good at this. Let's start with my video, and then I'll go to the point of his. Hit the like button. Thanks for being here. And listen, this is just something I thought you guys should know. And I'll be sharing more of these videos that I feel the public should know that's happening in the inside of Dalton. It's not just that. It's Tiffany. If I'm saying this right, Tiffany is a problem. We know that, right? But it did not start with Tiffany. I don't want you to think that everything went bad in Dalton as soon as Tiffany got in. No, let's get into it. Now, she is a problem. Don't get me wrong. Let's go. So on your left, you got Sharks. You got an old grammar school over there. I think is that Roosevelt Grammar School? I don't know that. I don't remember the name, but they rebuilt that grammar school. I want to say it's Roosevelt. So now I'm going still down 142nd here. You got your gas station on the right, some older houses on the left, a little trucking company on the left over here. And y'all know it's early, so you can tell I'm trying to you see the sun. I'm trying to get to work, y'all, but I wanted to make sure I stopped over here, get a tour. You got Taurus Subs over here on your left. No, okay, that's what I want to talk about. So this is the Piscateers. Oh, I hope I don't get in trouble for this. This is if you guys know anything about this, let me know. So this is the Piscateers Lake. I remember this lake is right here, and I think it's members only. I don't think anybody's allowed to go on that lake. It's not like you can go for a swim. I think you have to be a member over there, and it's owned separately, even though it's in Dalton, and it's a beautiful lake. I haven't been there, but I had to do a training out by there. Like we had to do a CPR training years ago, and we still couldn't get in. Okay, I don't know if the diver people was able to get in on the other side, but we were basically on the stoop of this lake right here just for the CPR training, and then they sent us over to South Suburban College, but we were supposed to meet there, and we got shut down. They were like, no, no, no. So if you know anything about this lake over here, it's actually an article about it. I don't know if things have changed, but I'm trying to be as delicate as I can. You're not allowed to go fishing over there. You not allowed to go. It's fenced off. You're not allowed. It's a club only, and this is in Dalton. I'm gonna try to read a little bit of this article. In 1998, they tried to reclaim the lake. Let me see if I can read this. Let me see. I don't know if this is might have to be paid to read this, but that's over there on the lake. So it's a beautiful fishing hole. It's a beautiful place where you could swim or do whatever you want to do. I ain't at Lake Calumet. I ain't getting in that water. But I found that very, very interesting that you're not allowed as a community at that time. If I'm wrong, please correct me, but you're not allowed to go over there. Okay. So it says since 1944. Let me see if I can share this right here. Okay. So let's go ahead and share this. I'm just trying to give y'all a little Dalton history from an old Daltonite. Let's go up here. Okay, since 1944, glistening Piscateer's Lake in South Suburban Dalton has been the exclusive fishing hole of a private social club with the same name. Though there is a woman auxiliary, Piscateer Inc. is a men's club with memberships passed down from father to son, uncle to nephew, father-in-law to son-in-law, and buddy to pal. You have to know someone to get in there. Now, I don't know if this is still true. Okay, guys. So I just want to show you guys that I did do this video a couple of months back. I'm going to go over to the individual investor um investors video, but my title of my video is Dalton has a lake and the residents cannot partake. That is the true story. Your kids can be in their swimsuit on a hot summer and see some water over there. Baby, they got 8 feet gates. You will not, I couldn't even, if you go over there to get a video, you will get a ticket in the mail because they take pictures of people license plates that go over there. You guys don't have to you don't have to listen to me. I'm just a little old lady on a computer. I'm telling you what it is. And years after year after year has passed where more people forget because they're newly coming in. They're not thinking that it's even a part of Dalton. That is Dalton. It just says private club. That is a public lake that they bought. Isn't that crazy? Isn't that crazy? Oh, thank you, Big Mike. Oh, wait a minute. You know, I'm only gonna drop the link because you ain't got to, but Big Mike, remember the shrimp boil? Big Mike, people thought I was crazy when I was saying it was a shrimp boil at the Isaac Walton League that Black people could not go to. My good friend, her dad was a police sergeant at Dalton Police. He was not racist or anything like that, but she was white and one of the last white families to live on Woodlawn, right? And her dad would take us to the shrimp boil. He took us to the shrimp boil one time, and my brown butt walked in there. Baby, it was not. I had never experienced blatant rules on who could not go. You had to be a relative, they said, to be a part of the shrimp boil. Big Mike, I promise I'm telling you the truth. If Big Mike, back me up if I'm lying. And Big Mike, I don't even know Big Mike, you guys. I don't know his nationality. I don't know who he is. And it's really cool that I don't. But he tells the truth. Big Mike, back me up. If you can, you don't have to. I was sitting there with my friend, and I was the only brown person. And I'm sorry, my other friend, she was Filipino. I hope I'm not saying it wrong. Filipino. She was Filipino. So she was Asian, I was Black as ever, and they was like, They was like, "Oh, y'all can go on in there, but what you gonna do with Mulan and dang on Princess and the Frog over here? They gonna have to go." That's what they that's what they did us. They were like, and that was at the shrimp boil. That was at the shrimp boil. And if you guys Google it, with it's the Ivy. It's another lake. It's two lakes. I think, if I'm not mistaken, maybe a couple of years ago they had a fire there. I don't recall because I never followed up with that. But yeah, it was exactly. I'm saying I've thank you, Big Mike. I could agree with that. I've seen some racist stuff at that league, things that wouldn't go tolerate today, but was tolerated back then. Yeah. And I think a lot of things were now, I hate to say it like this, you guys, but I think they're outnumbered now. So even though they come, and I'm saying they, and that sounds so bad, like they, but I'm not trying to say it like that. But even though previous residents come and they want to partake in their old neighborhood and fish or go to the league and stuff like that, they're usually gated off in a safe space. But if they had to face the community, that it would be a problem because they're kind of outnumbered now. And back then, things were tolerated. Like, that's what I want to say. And because it was tolerated, that's how come right now we have a lake sitting in Dalton. When we be talking about, oh, it's nothing for the babies to do. The babies can't swim. The babies can't fish. They can't even walk on that property. Okay. It's a true story. And then I was told I was told, and it kind of broke my heart. Big Mike, I was told, I was like, but the lake, black people can't even go over there. And someone in charge of something, who will remain nameless, they said, oh, you the only one that know that. So I'm using my platform to make sure everybody knows that, because it should be something that is known when you are in Dalton buying, or you're in Dalton wondering if your kids will be able to go to this park, that park, what can they do? It should be known in your selling point that yes, you're a black person buying in Dalton, but no, you cannot partake in certain areas of Dalton because it has stopped. It has stopped for our color. That is racism. But I guess in Piscateers, it's a club though, right? So they sort of set see, that's when that ordinance come in. Am I wrong? Is that when that ordinance come in, you guys? Does the ordinance come in when we're sitting up here saying, hey, it, thank you, Carefree. Carefree said they use eminent domain for everything else. And you guys, I have the link for StreamYard if you want to have something to say. But yeah, isn't this interesting? Hey, Gardis, we're talking about Piscateer Lake, and I had to bring it up because this is important. And the last mayor to say something about it was Shaw, and I think it's important. So because I feel like the individual investor broke it down a little better than me, I hope he doesn't mind. I'm gonna go ahead and play his video because this is something that people need to know. You're buying a home here, you're coming here, and ooh, Pearls Pink, white people too who didn't have class stature was excluded. You are right, Pearls Pink. You are right. And I went through that in my video. If they thought you were not okay, so you guys, I promise, I know this is a sensitive subject. I'm not trying to be radical or anything rude when I'm saying this. So Dalton it's an amazing place. It could be an amazing place. It's prime real estate. You're 20 minutes from everything, guys. When you're thinking about Dalton, I could get on an expressway right now and meet you at the Chicago Bean in 20 minutes. Or I could decide I want to go to Orland Park Mall and shop. Or I can decide I want to go to Indiana and walk. I'm literally 15 to 20 minutes with no traffic away from it, everything. Everything. It's an amazing place. That's the best way I can describe it. The thing about Dalton is it's just not in a good shape. Okay. It's close to any job you want. If you don't have a car, you can take the bus to the metro. And there used to be a time that Dalton had a trolley. You guys, don't get me started. Nobody talks about the Dalton trolley. It used to be a trolley that would take you to the Pace bus or the metro. That was the bee's knees, but the trolley broke down. Last I saw was in Public Works, just back there, broke down. But Dalton is prime real estate. It's in the middle of everything, right? Hey Mara. It's not a bad place, right? But then it became this stigma that people from the, and I'm doing air quotes and y'all can't see me, people from the city gonna come through here. The city is walking distance, right? Because we're right outside of the one of the last housing projects, which is Oakdale Gardens. But we're bordering so much more. We're bordering Hammond, Hegwich, Calumet City. We're just right on the cusp of everything. South Holland is our neighbor. It's so much to do in Dalton, right? It just needs to be spruced up, if you will. So when I'm saying that to say, let me go back to Pearl's Pink. White people, and I swear, please don't take offense to this. If it was like I had white friends, they lived in a trailer park. Other white people would treat them horribly. Like just because they live, and let me tell you, they live in a trailer park, but it looked like houses to me. Y'all ever seen some of those trailer mobile homes, baby? Now, back in the day, the mobile homes were not all that like it is now. But y'all ever see a trailer nowadays? Count me in. They be having stainless steel, granite. Count me in on a trailer. It is really nice. But they would treat them all kind of ways just because they lived in a trailer park 3 blocks away, and their kids went to the same Thornridge 3 blocks away from where they owned a home. It was ridiculous. Okay, so let's go on over to individual investor. I appreciate y'all so much. I just think that you should know about this. This is just a little Dalton history. And let me say, it's not the trustees that are in now fault. It's not the mayor. This is why I want to always talk about history, because this was something that was planned from the get to the go. Once the climate changed, I guess I could say, in Dalton. Once it changed, once Black people started to come, I hate to be racial, but it is a race thing. Let's listen to individual investor. Shout out to him. Subscribe. I think he has a great channel. When you go over to their channel, the best part about it is some of the stuff that they talked about maybe 2 months ago has came into fruition now. Okay, if you guys follow him, you understand what I'm saying. Let's go.
And as Brittany said, who's going to save us? Somebody has to save Dalton.
What's up, everyone? Hope you're doing well. So I'm going to be winding down my coverage on Dalton and moving on to something else fairly soon. But before I do, I felt like it's only fair to look into this statement right here and try to figure out, can Dalton actually be saved?
It's a shameful thing to see where this village is today and where it was when I moved here 18 years ago. So again, let's save Dalton.
I feel comments like this are a little bit misleading because Dalton was on the verge of bankruptcy in 2013.
I just look at it as this, and you know, this is me saying this. If you're not paying the bills, then maybe you're making payroll. If you can't make payroll, then you'll pay the bills. So it's something here, the reason why we're not paying bills, because we got to make payroll. Let's come to a point where it says, hey, the bag is empty, guys.
And this is also something they were doing back in the day. Instead of paying things like their water bill, they were using that money to make payroll. And the residents of Dalton are still paying for that to this day. I've talked about this before. It's costing them about $1 million a year until the debt's paid off. This short story right here, An American Suburb, 2018, is an excellent read for anybody who wants to learn about the history of Dalton. And I will be referencing this article or short story a few times in the next video or two. In part 3 of this story, they go on to state, how poor is Dalton? The village, which buys its municipal water from Chicago, diverted millions of dollars that had been set aside to pay its water bills to cover the city's day-to-day operating expenses. Chicago earlier this year sued Dalton for $7.9 million in delinquent water bills and penalties dating back years. And the water money, it wasn't the only money they were using to pay its day-to-day operations. In an emergency board meeting today, trustees voted to borrow money from a village TIF fund just to make this week's payroll. This article then goes on to state, luxury cars were bought that were never brought before the board, just spending at will, Mayor Rogers said. We've reached out to the sheriff's department. They will assist us in making moves in regards to investigations that need to be done. Next, we need to talk about the politics of Dalton, because Dalton and the surrounding suburbs have a history of Chicago-style politics.
Sorry, guys, wanted to pause there. This article, An American Suburb in 2018, you can Google it. It is really, really good. And they're right about each segment that they put in about like the Chicago politics, especially. Again, for those that don't know who are not from Dalton area, we can literally walk to Chicago. We can walk. Chicago is a few blocks away, depending on what side of Dalton you are in. But actually, if you're driving, it's the next exit over, right? So it's the next exit west from Dalton. You got Booby and Woods, and then you got 130th. So an exit and a half. You're right there. So this is so important to know. So he's going to get to the lake part. And thanks, you guys. And Mara put up the digital meter ever get installed in residents' home. Some of them I've heard. No, that was the gas digital meters. I'm going to have to research it because I do. No. I do know a few homes do have where they could read electronically, but I don't think it's enough to count, Mara. I'm gonna be honest, and then I'll go back to that later. Thanks for that. And hit the like, guys. Thanks for being here this afternoon.
For the sake of time, I'm just gonna start this off with Shaw, as I think he's the most relevant mayor of the past anyways. There has been corruption with previous mayors. Some of the people of the Shaw days are still around today, like Officer Lacey. And I think a lot of the political culture you see in Dalton today started with the Shaws as well.
I will say I can agree. Like Officer Lacey, because okay, remember Shaw was our first, and that's who I worked under. I didn't work in the political sense. I was just clerical. So as a clerical employee, you know, I was basically administrative assistant, secretary, that type of thing. It was not any depth to my job, if you will. But when you Lacey did start with the Shaw administration. A lot of people that came in there, what's his name? The engineer started with the Shaw administration. You will see a lot of people still floating around from the Shaw administration. And I'm not anti-Shaw, just putting it out there. They did bring the Chicago politics, but at that point, Dalton was changing to more of a black town. That's why Mayor Hart, I think, was right before Shaw, and I think that was our last white mayor.
Any town going through rapid economic and demographic change would benefit from steady yet visionary leadership. Instead of enlightenment, Dalton got the Shaws, twin brothers William and Robert, who put the old in old school politics. In a formula that would later repeat itself in Dalton, the Shaws in the 1970s swooped in to seize the political machinery of the Roseland neighborhood on the city's far south side, after it turned from majority white to majority black. Bill became a state lawmaker, Bob a Chicago alderman, and neither were shy about using public resources to reward friends and punish enemies. The pair were so toxic, not just to political reformers, but also many regular Democrats, that a colleague of Obama's advised him to steer clear of the Shaws when the young organizer was learning the ropes in a community that lay in the heart of their political base. Bill Shaw was elected Dalton's first African-American mayor in 1997, but also held on to his post in the Illinois Senate, which he then used to steer millions of dollars in state pork spending to the town. Bill Shaw also hired Bob to be a $70,000 a year inspector general charged with rooting out corruption in Dalton, though village ordinance made it clear that his brother and trustees were off limits. Other taxpayer-funded village jobs were steered to friends and family, and Bill's son Victor was awarded a $1 million construction contract to renovate a dilapidated village-owned assisted living center, a longtime patronage den.
I hope you guys were listening. I want to pause that. So do you see how things did not just start with Tiffany? Believe me, I'm not Team Tiffany. But we just listened to the Shaw, how he brought his twin brother in on the job. He brought his son in on the job, and he brought friends and family in on the job. That's just how Dalton politics was. So do you expect anything different when the new administration come in? The new administration is going to do the same thing. And as long as they're qualified people, I don't mind. As long as there's somebody qualified. Like, I don't think that, and I'm not judging in the sense that you need to have, like, I know that I'm not trying to, I hate that I have to say that all the time, but like they tried to bring up Stephanie Wiedemann, education, for instance. That's one thing, but the fact that her education, it could be an issue, but the fact that she held a position for 20 years is very much impressive. You know what I mean? It would be the same. Okay, let's say we said Carmen Carlisle. Now, if Carmen Carlisle was not a puppet, and I'm not trying to judge her, she could probably very much well be good for the administrator and community. But if you're just sitting there to be the yes vote and you really can't think for yourself, you can't serve your community. You know what I mean? I don't see anything wrong with Kamal Woods. If we talk about Kamal being in charge, we see he's owed child support. Why would he be in charge of the youth? Like things like that. Like if it's stuff like that, it's a problem. It's a problem. Thank you. Oh, thanks, Mar put in. Yes, it's yeah. If you've been 20 years in the same position, no problem. I'm good with you. But then it's also, but Mara, can we say anything? Hey, Dave's channel. Thanks for being here. Yeah, nepotism, Chavez. Thanks for being here. And nepotism, right? The same thing. We could say that, but look at Connect the DOTTS. He's supposed to have all the degrees in the world, and look what he's out here doing allegedly. So it's really about, I hate to say it, but the smaller municipalities, they go under the radar. So like you really can't. It's a lot of more red tape you'd have to go through to be a part of JB Pritzker administration to start. You have to go through a little more red tape because people are going to look at him and you. It might need to be the same for Dalton, but I think that we should just judge people on their base of the community. I think that some of the people got these positions and it's just for pay. It's just for pay. But I want to tell you that the nepotism didn't start with Tiffany. So this is proof of that. Okay, let's go, guys. Let's continue to listen to the individual investor. You can find him on YouTube.
The deal eventually landed Victor Shaw in federal prison for tax fraud. When Bill died in 2008, the pamphlet handed out to mourners at his funeral proudly declared he had been truly one who brought home the bacon. The first thing I want to point out, since Bill Shaw was involved in politics for so long, you would think at his funeral the pamphlet would read, "Here lies a man who dedicated his whole life to serving the public and making the world a better place." Instead, it declares he's the man who truly brought home the bacon. So I wanted to bring this up because you do see some similarities between Shaw and Tiffany. Both of them held 2 elected positions at the same time, and they both seem to steer money from one position to another. Like with Tiffany, you see it with the township. You see her steering the township money into things like her charity, but also into events that get hosted in Dalton. And then
Y'all, I want to say something about that. Okay. And hit the like button if you hear 81 people. We have an intimate audience. Please hit the like button. Okay. All right. Let me address Mark Springer comment. I wonder what all you guys are going to do when Dalton has an O, but I'll allow it. Dalton goes down and you have nothing to podcast about. I mean, now you're going back almost a decade or more, and for what reason it will fix nothing. Hey, Mark Springer. Okay, hey, Burgundy Blue here. I didn't have a podcast. Maybe it is, but I already had a YouTube channel before this started. I don't know if you knew. I had a YouTube channel, and my expertise was talking reality TV. Because Dalton is the community I live in, I started to talk about that. So I can't speak for others, but I can speak about myself and my community. So what I wanted to do was talk about it. I'm not making a big bet. I actually was making more talking about reality TV and Gypsy Rose, just to be honest. Gypsy Rose was my moneymaker, guys. Oh my God. Anybody, if you put a one in the chat, if y'all following Gypsy Rose, girl. Gypsy Rose helped me get my hair done, y'all. But Dalton is in need of other voices, and I'm going to voice my opinion. Yeah, and I think that other podcasters who did get on talking about Dalton should continue to talk about Dalton even after what happened with Tiffany happens, or what doesn't happen with Tiffany happens. Okay, but thanks for your comment. Thanks for your comment. All right. Let's continue to move. The trustees need to take their power back. Tiff has gaslighted them, thinking they're beneath her, when in fact the trustees in all communities have the most power and responsibility. It's sort of like the legislative branch, right? Or Pearl's Pink. It's sort of like the cabinet. And that's the thing. You guys, okay. I'm just an old lady on a computer, right? But let's look at it. If Tiffany leaves in Dalton, we got Jason House out, step up, take Mayor Pro Temp, right? And then they'll fill whatever seats need to be filled. We anticipate it'll be Ed Steve and Jason House seat, right? Okay. Let's talk about the township. Has anyone thought about what happens to the township? The majority of Tiffany rules in a township. Her only nay vote, the only person that say nay or that votes against Tiffany is Chris Gonzalez. If Tiffany is not there, one of her yes men, if I'm saying that right, will just move on up and they will continue to rule the township. Do you understand what I'm saying? So we have to find out what the plan is until the next election, which is 2025. So Tiffany goes to jail today. Let's just say she goes to jail. Carmen Carlisle becomes trustee to she takes over and gets that $225,000 a year, which we know has been increased recently thanks to the Dalton Politics Group. Carmen Carlisle could be the supervisor, which will be smart because Carmen Carlisle is the most loyal to Tiffany, right? And that is about what, 6 to 7 months of Carmen Carlisle being a township supervisor. Has anybody thought about that? And I'm just throwing Carmen out there. It could be Darlene. It could be Peppy. It could, well, no, not Peppy. It could be Darlene. It could be Carmen. It could be Jerry. All her yes men could throw up their hat and become supervisor after she's arrested. And all she's going to do is tell them what to do. Right? That's it. Thanks, Chavez. Oh yeah, I love history. I love history, and I don't mind. And you guys, I don't mind. Marcus right. If he wants, the comment is right. And what has this have to do with the lake? This is ridiculous. Goodbye. Good day, sir. It has a lot to do with Dalton. The lake has a lot to do with Dalton. Keela. All right, guys, let's go on to the next one. But yeah, you guys ever think about that when Tiffany, like everybody's like, oh yeah, arrest Tiffany Henyard. Okay, what's going to happen to the township? Does anybody know? This is just my thoughts, but does anybody know what will happen to the township? Because if we going by history, if we're going by history, what will happen is someone's appointed, right? So they're gonna have to appoint somebody before midnight. And we know that they already at the township have had their secret squirrel meetings, right? And you're right about that, Dave Channel. Audit the Dalton Police Department. So they're gonna have a secret squirrel meeting. They're gonna say, "Oh, I nominate Carmen Carlisle." I'm just throwing her name out there. So now she becomes a supervisor. Basically, the only thing Tiffany is doing is calling in during phone check, telling Carmen what to do. Then what? Because all the other trustees in the township have been known to be, they all went to Vegas. Okay. They all went to Vegas. So just think about that. I know a lot of times we focus on Dalton, but please know that Dalton is one situation, but Thornton Township is another.
We've seen the same exact thing with the hiring of questionable people or people she may know. And some of these hires, like this one right here, have actually resulted in lawsuits. Now, I don't think this lawsuit's going to go anywhere. I just find it kind of ironic. You hire someone, you know, a friend, to try to help them out, and then you end up getting sued in court. And then just like when Shaw left office, I think we all know there's a very, very, very strong chance that when Tiffany leaves office, Dalton's going to be on the verge of bankruptcy again.
I'm glad he said that. That is very true. I don't think the individual investor been wrong about anything. And I want to point out with Mara saying, and because they didn't let people vote, there's no way people are allowed to pick someone without the people's vote. We're hoping for that because you guys, if you don't remember, Paul Roberts, hold on one second. Let me finish this. If you don't remember, the people were waiting to vote, but they wouldn't let them, right? They hurried up and Chris Gonzalez said, I nominate 7 minutes before. And we all know Zuccarelli wanted someone specific to take his place. And the fact that the trustees did not honor that, that shows something, right? So, Mr. Roberts, can you email me at burgundybluecommentary@gmail.com? I'm putting here. A lot of people are asking to get in touch with you. And Miss Mary, if she's in here, everyone's asking me, can you get in touch with Paul Roberts and can you get in touch with Miss Mary? And I don't have your email addresses. So I want to make sure I'm not ignoring people that need to connect with you. When you guys say I really literally never met anybody I talk about before, but I'm glad you're here. Paul Roberts says Carmen Carlisle and Jerry Jones were both named in the subpoenas. The Thornton Township question is who will not be arrested. Very much true. Very much true. Isn't that something? That the fact that it has to go here. There'll be a public forum before the May 28th township meeting. I should be there. We have the link in here. If anybody wants to join, it's free. Choose Compassion. Thank you for becoming a member. Thanks for becoming a member of the channel. I appreciate you guys. Everything goes invested into this channel. And thanks to my girl Lori. My girl Lori sent me a whole care package because I had an Amazon wish list. And y'all, the next meeting, I'm ready. I'm mic'd up. I got a raincoat. I got reflectors. Thank you, Lori. Thank you, Lori P. All right, guys, let's keep. And Paul Roberts says we're invited to discuss the proposed township budget. Ooh, that's gonna be interesting. Thank you, Chavez. Oh, thanks, Moxie, for this. Moxie says, after watching Hannibal's latest video, the connection goes really deep into Illinois politics. This is bigger than everyone realizes. I believe so. You know what, Moxie, I'm gonna throw my Game of Thrones hat in the ring. You know, I watch all this drama. Tiffany might not go to jail because I believe she will have more information on bigger fish. if that makes sense. No pun intended, since we're talking about Prisker Lake. She might have intel on so much stuff going on, especially when we get to how many people ignored the cries and the letters and the FOIAs of the public, right? And she might get away with that. All right, let's go back to individual investor, you guys.
Since they're a municipality, they can't file for bankruptcy unless the state allows them to. And that's highly unlikely to happen, in my opinion, just because of one thing: pension debt. So by the time Shaw was no longer mayor in Dalton, not only was the Illinois State Police investigating, they actually ended up taking over majority of the Dalton Police Department's work. The state started handling things like 911 calls and investigations. And I think it's fairly safe to assume that we're going to see the same exact thing happen again once Tiffany leaves office.
You say, how was it before the Henyard administration?
Yeah.
There were challenges in there before. Definitely nothing to this degree.
Obviously, from a political standpoint, I highly disagree with Jason on this. If that was the case, this wouldn't be the second time in 15 years that Dalton's on the verge of bankruptcy. But more importantly, Dalton's been dealing with the same issues for about 50 years and hasn't found a solution yet. And that's been the decline in manufacturing. With the decline in manufacturing, there's been a massive decline in jobs over the years. None of these South suburban towns or the far south side of Chicago has ever recovered. This article about the west side of Chicago absolutely holds true for the south suburbs and the far south side of Chicago. Manufacturing was once a bedrock of Chicago's economy. You can quit a job on this side of the street and go across the street and get hired.
You guys, I remember those days. He's not kidding. You could quit your job at one factory, go across the street and get a job. You could quit your job at the steel mill and there was another steel mill across the street, or an aluminum place, or you could quit your job over here and then SureGuard was across the street. It was so many jobs in this area. He's very much true. He's telling the truth right there.
But when the factories left, communities lost more than jobs. See, the south and west sides of Chicago were huge manufacturing hubs from the early 1900s up until about the 70s. And these were all very good paying jobs. In the 1970s, the US had a massive economic shift. We went from being a manufacturing powerhouse to being a service sector economy. And this hurt these areas economically for a couple of reasons. One, these service sector jobs generally didn't pay as high as these manufacturing jobs. And two, the service sector jobs didn't require as many employees. We used to have several industries in the Southland area, but let's just talk the steel industry for a second. At the steel industry's peak, which would be like the mid-1950s, they alone employed around 200,000 people in the South Chicagoland area. And when those jobs disappeared, 200,000 service sector jobs didn't replace them. Those service sector jobs came, but they got spread out throughout the city. So these areas went from being very blue-collared areas where good-paying jobs were plentiful to almost no jobs available, and the ones that were didn't pay the same kind of wage. Not only that, the loss of manufacturing was like a ripple effect. Businesses just kept closing and closing and closing. Just take this century alone from 2000 until today. Dalton has lost more than 1,800 jobs to try to get these.
I'm a fast forward. Let me tell you, it's very interesting in American Suburb 2018. I just don't want to take all individual investor content, but I wanted to talk about the lake. Let's see if is it this video? I thought it was. Let's see if we can play here.
These properties back on the market and collecting tax revenue. And we're not talking a small amount of homes. This article from 2018 says it's in the hundreds that they were trying to do. And to my knowledge, they're still trying to get a lot of these houses back on. Is off limits just how long questionable. Dalton has done there was a board meeting where they talked about someone getting properties and fixing up and it got shot down.
Okay, here we go, guys. I'm sorry. I had to like fast forward through that because I just feel like it's important. I want you to see this view right here. Hold on. Okay, Lincoln Avenue. That's the street I was driving by. Lincoln Avenue, which is this. Let me see if you guys can see my little pointer. That is where Lincoln School. You know how you guys watching, like I think Jedediah, he always says, why is that school thing out there? Is this a portal? That's Lincoln Avenue. That's where Sharks is. That's where the Village Hall is. And look how close the lake is. Now, I crossed through Lincoln Avenue. This is the side of town I grew up on, 142nd area. You see right there, this big old lake. We are not able to be there. We are not able to be there. I would love, and I am purposely doing this video, for someone to, what's the word? Somebody put the word in the comment. Someone to prove me wrong, but I was like trying to use a big word like disparage to try to take me down and say I'm lying. We are not allowed to be there. This is Dalton. This whole side, everything you see is Dalton, but this lake, the prior residents of Dalton, they are able to partake in that, and you have to be grandfathered in. You have to be of a certain bloodline, and you have to be of a certain race. He's going to talk about that. I think this is important to know that Dalton is not just, okay, if you look at this thing, do you see this little yellow thing? That's where Sharks is. So I literally can get my chicken right here, this little yellow, I hope you can see my cursor, this little yellow little thing, and I can't even go to the lake. Isn't that something? And it's a beautiful lake. It's a beautiful lake. Dalton was a beautiful place. Okay, let's go back.
Revenue. But for the sake of time, I'm just going to go through a few. This first one I'm bringing up, it shows just how long questionable things and corruption's been going on in Dalton.
Ooh, he hit my heart. He said, whoa. Oh, you, okay, choose compassion. You were right there. So it depends on what year. We used to walk to Needles Park. Needles Park is, if you guys are on YouTube now, that's where Tiffany walked around in the middle of the night and she said she saw some liquor bottles out there. There you can go any day, watch the baseball games, tennis practice. You can do tennis practice. You could go over there and get hot nachos with peppers on it. And right across the street was Panazzo's, a candy store. And we had a huge rocket slide. It was crazy over there. So if you didn't know that, that is something to know. Now, I want you guys to know I'm only 45 years old. I'm barely a baby. I'm just messing with y'all. I'm 45 years old. My parents, give you a little history. I'm adopted. Y'all, we've been through that story. Put the violins in the chat. Put the violins in the chat. But I'm adopted. My mother died. We lived in the hundreds, like the like 120 something. It was a good area, but it started to change. We had a beautiful house in the hundreds, and then my mom died. My dad was a single dad in his early 30s, left with 3 children and a wife that passed away. 3 girls. What he did was he said, I got to get them up out of here. I can't have them. We used to be those latchkey kids. Remember those latchkey kids back in the day where your dad or mom would be at work and you had the key around your neck under your shirt? Anybody been a latchkey kid? Let me know. Let me know. But the oldest kid was responsible for getting everybody in the house and nobody opened that door. It wasn't no babysitters back then. Anybody was a latchkey kid? It's just me. It's just me. Look, Mara, help me, girl. Okay, choose compare. You remember you had that little key around your neck and it went under your clothes. You didn't have it. And don't let nobody in my house. That was how we grew up. It was 3 of us. So my big sister was in charge. I was the middle, and I had a little sister. And my dad realized we couldn't come in and out as three little girls, knowing that everybody knew my dad truck. It wasn't like we had a garage, but if his truck was out front, you know how the neighbors are nosy. If your truck was thank you, thanks, Chavez. If y'all ever grow up and you be like, oh, Miss Walter not home, because you know that car ain't out front. That was our block. People knew who was home by the car that was out front. So my dad decided, hey, you know what? I got to get my kids out of here. He moved us to Dalton. And he bought a beautiful house in Dalton. And he's very proud of that house to this day. So that's how it was. So in Dalton, I was going back to Choose Compassion. You were on 146 in Dorchester. I was not far from you, girl. You would take Dorchester down to 144th. You look left. You would have the Hostess Bakery and go get you a nice little day old Twinkie, girl, a ding dong. And then you could keep on walking west. Keep on walking west. And then you would run into Needles Park and could get on the slide, and you could play tennis like you was Serena and them. What she say? You can't even be Serena and them. We was able to be Serena and them back then. And then if you kept on walking, you will run into Piscateer Lake. You were right there, right shy of tourist submarines now, where tourist submarines are. So that I'm just trying to tell you guys where my parents used to leave us a window open so we can get in while they were at work. Oh my goodness, how cute, Eric. Now, I would have been scared of that. Now, I've been scared somebody would have came in my window. Mara said there were no babysitters. They weren't. You was a latchkey. Dave said, I'll be 50 this year. Go ahead. Yeah, so we lived a whole different life. Look, let me tell you something. You know how they be like, DCFS is coming? They could have came, but they wouldn't get in my house because my parents said don't open the door for nobody. Nobody. We call our mom and be like, can we open this ice cream, please? And then she call us back, take the chicken out the freezer. But you better not. We didn't have no cell phones, no cameras, no Ring doorbells. But for somehow, somewhere, my mama would know if one of the neighbors came in the house, one of my little girlfriends or something, one of my homegirls came over on the porch. She called like clockwork. So yeah. Put that key under your shirt. You guys, I remember I love talking to y'all. Like I said, with the links in the chat. Y'all ever did y'all ever have where you lost your key one time from home and then your parents go change the entire house locks? Like somebody know if you left the key anywhere, like they know where the key came from. I lost my key one time. My dad changed every lock in the house, the basement, the cellar. I'm like, don't nobody know. And I only had like the key to one lock, like the bottom lock. The top lock I didn't have the key to. It was just something we did. He changed every lock in the house and was like, see there? See? So my dad moved back out from Chicago. He felt like Dalton was an amazing place. And it was sort of like Dalton was like Country Club Hills. Remember Country Club Hills used to be the bee's knees? It's not anymore, but it was like Country Club Hills and Crete. Crete is the bee's knees too. You know, Dalton was like upper echelon. So when we moved to Dalton, it was really, really cool. And he remarried, and that's where we lived. So yeah, that's a little history. Wait, your husband like that? If you you never locked the doors? Ooh, child. Did you just lock the screen door? Did you lock the screen door? That's a difference. Like, who locked that screen door and the screen door was a screen, like somebody just couldn't cut it open? Like, you can't get in here. Shabba said, I was kind of a latchkey kid. She didn't care who it was, family, whatever. Nobody is allowed until they home or the belt is coming. Baby, Shabba, that was a day. That was a day. Look, if you got out of school at 2:50 and it took you 10 minutes to walk in, you better be in the house at 3. 3:01, you getting a whooping. And the neighbors would tell on you. It was like we had neighbors that be walking out the door talking about, yeah, we see them coming in here. calling my mama at work. It's just a mess. Just a mess. But if y'all was that good, I wouldn't have had a baby at 16. But that's another story for another day. Let's keep on. Let's keep on. Look, shout out to my son. He's 28 now. Let's go, y'all.
So we could see this big lake I have pulled up on the map, Lake Cottage Grove. It's only a few blocks from Village Hall. I would argue walking distance. It looks like it's 3-4 blocks away. Anyways, this lake is off limits to the residents of Dalton. It's a privately owned lake. The village of Dalton did own it up until 1994 when they sold it for $160,000. Cook County property records show that the Piscateers obtained the rights from the village of Dalton to lease the property in 15-year increments for $1,200 a year in 1944. The lake had been a clay pit used during the 1920s and 30s as a source of material to make.
I wanted to pause it. Y'all listening about this lake, right? And shout out to individual investors. This is important, guys. And it's important because you can see it from two different ways. That's why I want to point that out. That's the thing about over here with us, Burgundy Blue Commentary. Like you guys, your opinions are valid and welcome. I just, like we're saying, like they built it from a clay pit. Okay, let's keep on going, guys.
Bricks. Later, it became filled with rainwater. When the Piscateers, most of whose original members were Dalton residents, took the lake over, they stocked it with fish. In 1994, the then 7-member village board voted 4-1, with 1 member abstaining and another absent, to sell the lake property to the Piscateers on the ground the village needed the $160,000 to make up for a shortfall in the village budget that year. So there's a lot that needs to be said about this lake. But first thing first, when Shaw was elected in 1997, one of the first things he did was sue to try to get this lake back for the residents and just open it up for everyone.
Okay, so I wanted to be fair and I want to make sure I heard that correctly, and you guys comment below. So it seems like the Piscateers built the club built that lake per se. So it was just a clay opening. They put the brick in there, they built it up, got the water flowing through there, and then this is me saying it. If I'm wrong, let me know. And then they decided to dump fish in there. But then the village, I might be wrong, I'm gonna play this over. Did the village then they were desperate for money, so they in haste sold the lake to the Piscateers, which is what the Piscateers would have wanted, right? Because they built it from the ground up. Am I right? Am I right? Ooh, I love the fish. I love to fish. I go now. June is my fishing time for Canada. Mara, I'll be looking you up, girl. June is my fishing time for for Canada, Dave's channel. So that's what happened. They started, thanks Choose Compassion. So this is really a lake they built. If I'm being, I don't know if we could be loosely. And then the Dalton was desperate for the money, so they took it, right? They sold it, which was a cheap buy for the long. They didn't think about the long term. Let's listen again, guys.
4-1, with 1 member abstaining and another absent, to sell the rights from the village of Dalton to lease the property in map, Lake Cottage Grove. It's only a few blocks from Village Hall. I would argue walking distance. It looks like it's 3-4 blocks away. Anyways, this lake is off limits to the residents of Dalton. It's a privately owned lake. The village of Dalton did own it up until 1994 when they sold it for $160,000. Cook County property records show that the Piscateers obtained the rights from the village of Dalton to lease the property in 15-year increments for $1,200 a year in 1944. The lake had been a clay pit used during the 1920s and 30s as a source of material to make bricks. Later, it became filled with rainwater. When the Piscateers, most of whose original members were Dalton residents, took the lake over, they stocked it with fish. In 1994, The then 7-member village board voted 4-1, with 1 member abstaining and another absent, to sell the lake property to the Piscateers on the ground the village needed the $160,000 to make up for a shortfall in the village budget that year. So there's a lot that needs to be said about this lake. But first thing first, when Shaw was elected in 1997, one of the first things he did was sue to try to get this lake back for the residents and just open it up for everyone. He lost the lawsuit and then appealed it and lost again. Now, what I find most interesting about this, the 50 years that the village was renting this out to them, they had 3 contract renewals. And not once in those contract renewals did they adjust the rental price for inflation. When we look at the inflation calculator, we can see around the time of the first renewal, they could have gotten about an extra $800 a year, just adjusted for inflation. Then on the second contract renewal in 1974, they could have gotten over $3,300 a year. So when we fast forward to the 1989 renewal, the adjusted for inflation rental price would be over $8,400 a year. I understand the village doesn't own it anymore, but fast forward to today, and that would be over $21,000 a year. Now, to me, it's not just mind-boggling that they've been a town that's been hurting for so long, and they never thought about raising the rent on one of these renewals. It also comes off as a sign of corruption. This article talks about how Dalton village officials were always made honorary members of this club. And the club quit doing that once Black people started getting elected into office. This place also...
Dun, dun, dun. Anybody heard that? At first, honorary people, and that's McKay, Peck, Hart, all the previous mayors were honorary people. When I worked for the village of Dalton, I did work with Bert Herzog. I did not know Bert Herzog was Jewish, but he's going to be brought up in this article. And he had ran for mayor, I think, before back in the day, but he was a trustee when I came in. I think he was village administrator before as well. But he was a white gentleman, Jewish. And we're going to hear about that. But did you see what they did? At first, if you were, and I think that probably is what pissed Shaw off. I'm going to be honest. I think I cannot say without a doubt that Shaw would be, I don't know Shaw personally. I know what he did for me. But I don't know if he would have fought so much if he would have not been able to be in the lodge. You know what I mean? I hope I'm saying it correctly. But as soon as it became Black people were in office, they stopped that. Individual investor, keep doing the Lord's work. Let's go.
Also didn't allow women to be members either. The club stated it quit letting village officials out, how Dalton village officials were always made honorary members of this club. And the club quit doing that once Black people started getting elected into office. This place also didn't allow women to be members either. The club stated it quit letting village officials be honorary members because they reached their 150 member capacity limit and there's just no more room available. I think it's great that this club originally filled the lake up with fish, but I think it's unbelievable that since the 40s, this lake's been 100% off limits to the residents of Dalton. Then when you consider from 1944 to 1994, they only collected $60,000 in rent, and then they sold it for $160,000. They only got $220,000 out of this place over 50 years, and the residents were banned the entire time over such a small amount of cash.
Burgundy checking in again. Do you realize they would rather lose money? So that he's basically saying that the residents, the board members, everyone could pay to be a part of this club. Now, I don't know if you guys know, when you go there, it's very, even if you Google Piscateer Lake, you won't get a lot of pictures. But basically, when you go there, you park on 142nd. It's a gated area. You have to have a key card to get in. Once you're in, it's poker, gaming, billiards, things of that nature, food, and you can go over there and fish. You can go over there and swim. You can do what you want, but they would rather lose money because now a lot of their clientele is dying off. You know, a lot of the people that were the head of families are dying off. So now they're just basically getting a lot of people, and I'm sorry this sounds so bad when I say this, but a lot of people from Indiana. So they're bringing in friends and referral friends, and it's as long as they're white. As long as they're white. Ugh, I had to say that, but it's the truth. And here we are, and it's a beautiful place. When I did CPR for South Suburban and I worked for a municipality, that was where we were. Let's go, guys.
So the next thing I want to talk about is how they've been raising tax revenue over the year through tow fees, red light cameras, and ticketing. So sometime in the 90s, the village started working out towing deals with local tow companies to try to bring in more tax revenue. The previous article was from 1996, but this article from 2006 claims George's Towing had a deal with the village back in 1994. The red light cameras, the village started installing them around 2008. By 2017, Dalton was labeled as one of the villages that bring in the most revenue with red light cameras in the state of Illinois. And it appears something funny may have been going on because according to this ABC investigation, the day they went to traffic court in Dalton, 60% of the tickets got thrown out in court for the people that contested these red light tickets. And then we have the newest one, which is the insane amount of parking tickets. And this one is just from 7 months ago. What was going on? People got a bunch of tickets in the mail, and everyone thought it was just your average $50 ticket or whatever, and they all turned out to be $500 tickets, leading many people to believe that this upcharge in tickets is just a way to bring in more tax revenue and help pay down debt. Now, it's impossible to tell how much revenue towing, red light cameras, and tickets individually brought in pre-2019. But when we look at the audited financials for 2015, 16, 17, and 18, we can see fines and forfeitures went up every single year from 2015 at $888,000 to over $2.6 million in 2018. But we can see in 2019, they made a little bit under $1 million in red light fees and a little bit under $100,000 in tow fees. The total fines and forfeitures were up to $3.4 million in 2019. And by the time this audit was done in 2020, it was at $2.9 million. Now, I'm not too sure when these audits take place. They always release these the last week of December every year. It's for the period ended April 30th. So when it says fiscal year to date, I have no idea what that date is. Is it early in the year or later in the year? They haven't released audited financials in a few years. These are the latest unaudited financials from 2023. And when you look at them, it paints an interesting picture. You'll notice permits are down by like 75% since 2018. This permit number used to be over $1.5 million. We'll notice red light, towing fees, parking fines, and housing fines have all went up, while municipal collections and local debt recovery collections have plunged by over 60, 70%. So it does appear the village has been using fines and fees for years to make up for the loss in permit and collections revenue. I assume the collections revenue has been dwindling because there ain't nothing to collect. The properties are getting bought dirt cheap at tax sales, or the village is taking them over. Another form of tax revenue that's steadily been going up for Dalton is their video gaming tax. In 2020, they made a little bit under $250,000. By the time this audit was done in 2021, they were already at $313,000. In 2022, that number jumped up to 372,000. And the fiscal year budget estimate for 2023 was $422,000. At the time of this audit, they were at about $300K for the year.
I just wanted to point this out. I think the individual investor for the community and what's going on is brilliant. Please follow this channel. I don't know them at all, but sorry, guys. I think what they have to say about the Southland is important because I looked at something they said and I'm like, oh man, whatever you said, you ain't talking about nothing. And 2 minutes, not 2 months, 2 minutes later, it has came to fruition. So I want to go over Jay Jones. Hey, Jay Jones, those red light camera, if your front tire stop on the line, if there's a camera, they will take a picture of your license plate. Also, I was told I went to court, do a 3-second stop, count to 3, and you are right about that front tire because that camera, like we heard from, I think, and don't misquote me, I hope I'm not misquoting her, Trina Downs, it just take pictures constantly. Goddess Watt says, speaking of red light tickets, an employee at the district went to contest a red light ticket and got thrown out because of no legal counsel. You are absolutely right. You guys, thank you for that, Goddess. I actually had a ticket. And do you know when I had a ticket, that judge was done with the day. So I don't know if he was part of this. I never looked it up to see if he was part of, because he didn't sign my ticket, if he was part of what's Delgado law firm. But yeah, they're not showing up anymore. And when I went that day, it was so many people that got that $500 Italian Fiesta ticket that was sent in the mail and not on their car because a police officer was lasering their license plates from across the street. Yeah, I'm glad that's happening. And I think that's been two traffic courts in a row. Thanks for that, Goddess. Hey, Critical. Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy out here. So, you guys, the point of me doing this video is a Burgundy Blue Commentary. I'm not the conventional where I'm just telling you what's hot in the news, but I'm telling you that just from my heart as a Dalton resident. Yes, I'm always like, you guys. You guys, I have t-shirts for sale on my channel. You don't have to get it, but I have just 3. I have a beanie because y'all know I love my hats, and I have a t-shirt or 2, and one says I'm a Daltonite, and the other one says Burgundy Blue Commentary, and I put the you guys up, but you can see it on my page if you want to get a t-shirt for the next board meeting. And I'd love to see your heart there, but just having my little logo. But yeah, it's not important. You don't have to have that. Just you guys tap me on the shoulder and say, "What's up, Burgundy?" is enough. But you guys, I say that because I love the drama. I'm like, ooh, right? But in reality, this is people's lives. Like, just like I love the Wendy Williams drama, I'm like, ooh, Wendy, what happened? Wendy going through. So I still have that teeter-totter. And I'm like, okay, if when Tiffany Henry is arrested, detained, or asked to stop that or steps down, what is our plan from here? Because we could see from the individual investor video, as well as my video, the plan did not help. The plan is not in session. Y'all get what I'm saying? The plan is not in session. So we need some people to, what's the plan? What's the plan? Now, I'm going to say this. I'm trying to be politically correct. I did see some things that kind of upset me a little bit this weekend, kind of disappointed me. So I need to know the plan before I can vote. Now, out of all the YouTubers, Burgundy Blue is a voting YouTuber. That means my vote counts. when it comes to Dalton, that means my vote counts when it comes to Thornton Township. I'm not just talking about it, and I'm not trying to say it like that, but my vote counts. Now, if you want to weaponize my voter's registration, which has been done, okay, if you want to try to weaponize it, this is all I can say.
You can see, the more you fuck around, the more you're going to find out. And also, if you stay down here and you never fuck around, you'll never find out.
And there we have it. Let's get back to a little bit of I'm gonna cut off Piscateer Lake, and I'm gonna go to my video on Piscateer Lake. You can't sit with us, you can't fish with us, because I think that I'm gonna do a little bit more of individual investor, and then we'll get to. Now let me tell you, thank you, Jay Jones. And that's the thing. I'm gonna be honest, and this is not to be rude. I think all the YouTubers that are covering it, this is going to be able to sway a vote, tell people where to go. Okay, I do think that. However, I am going to be the only one that's able to go in there with Jay Jones and punch my ballot, and Gardis Watts and punch my ballot, and I'm punching my ballot. You know what I mean? And that's it. Hey, Trustee Ed Steve. I'm gonna be the only one that's able to. So I'm talking about my vote. I'm gonna be the only one that's able to walk in there and vote. So you may look at the larger YouTubers, and they may be able to tell Dalton people what to do, if you will. But me and my people, which is a large conglomerate, we're gonna be the only ones able to walk in there and punch that ballot. Now, y'all might get money from all over the world, meaning the Dalton people may get, the people that's running may get money from all over the world, but my vote is going to count in Dalton and Thornton Township based on my experience, point blank to the period. You right? We rolling. Let's go back to individual investor.
I bring this up because they're going to have to make up for this revenue very soon. After the casino opens up in Hazel Crest, they're going to have a massive loss of revenue. Why are you going to go to the bar to pay for expensive drinks and gamble when you can go to the casino and probably get drinks for free? So all these south suburbs that have been making money off this gaming tax, it's going to be drying up for all of them very soon. And the last thing I want to talk about that the village has done to try to bring in tax revenue.
And I want to pause that, but I'm going to go back to my page. But since we got former trustee Edward Steve, we're talking about the lake that no one can go to. I don't know if you know about that, but that is the lake that no village person can go to. And the link is in the chat. No one that's a resident, tax-paying citizen, they're able to go to Piscateer Lake. And I thought that was important that people knew. Okay, let's go back. Y'all, it's password. Y'all, it's password protected, like they say. It's amazing to know the secrets in and out of your community that you're not a part of, right? Isn't that interesting? Oh yeah. She's going to tell you. Hey, Burgundy. Hey, everyone. Burgundy, you said my vote will count. That's right, Tony. Our votes will count. Like, y'all can do what you want to on YouTube and Facebook. But, baby, that ballot. And, you know, I'm not going to be, you guys, don't be shocked if this year ballots are counted. Don't be shocked if, I forgot what it's called. The number of it's a word I can't think. The number when the people got to turn in their how many people petitions. Don't get shocked if petitions are counted, because now Dalton has a lot of outside influence, and they're gonna David Orr, whoever's in charge now. I don't even know if it's David Orr, but whoever's in charge of the ballots, they're gonna want to know. is this outside influence or if this is real influence? You know what I mean? What is the population of Dalton? It has been estimated at 20,000. It has been, yeah, absentee. Oh, baby, they're going to, thank you, choose. Baby, they're going to count them all. Because now you got so much outside influence. So much outside influence, which is a good thing. I don't think that's wrong, but I think that's a good thing. I'm going to go back to my video now, and I'm going to go in the bushes in the comments. I think that's a good thing. But yeah, y'all might get a lot of money. I mean, the trustees, the new mayor, they may get a lot of money. Like Obama might donate. But if Obama can't vote in Dalton, he can't vote in Dalton. And that's just what it comes down to. That vote comes down to a lot. Let's go ahead and share this. I'm just trying to give y'all a little Dalton history from an old Dalton night. Let's go up here. Okay, since 1944, glistening Piscateer's Lake in South Suburban Dalton has been the exclusive fishing hole of a private social club with the same name. Though there is a woman auxiliary, Piscateer Inc. is a men's club with memberships passed down from father to son, uncle to nephew, father-in-law to son-in-law, and buddy to pal. You have to know someone to get in there. Now, I don't know if this is still true, but I would love to know if this is still the date. And for 54 years, the membership has been consistently and unapologetically all white. Blacks' failed attempts to gain access to the club largely have been muted over the years. But now a lawsuit filed by the Village of Dalton challenges not only the club's exclusionary practice, but also the right to use the land and lake it occupies. Piscateer Inc. has been leasing the lake from the village for $1,200 a year until 1994, when the village sold the waterway to the club for only $160,000, guys. In June, let me tell you, Mayor Shaw used to be hot about this lake back in the day. In June, the village, led by Mayor William Bill Shaw, filed a lawsuit to reclaim the lake, contending the sale was invalid due to an insufficient number of votes by trustees to approve the sale. Shaw, who was elected in 1997, said he wants to see the lake returned to its rightful owners, the residents of Dalton, which has no other fishing lake open to the public. Besides, he said the existence of an all-white fishing club in the village that has 80% Black is absurd. In this day and age, to keep the club all white and not allow Blacks is terrible. Now, this article is from 1998. Like I said, I wonder if this is still true to this day. But a lot of us who've seen the lake, it was off limits. Okay. The suit has yet to be assigned to a hearing date, says village attorney Everett McCleary, but it already has caused some tempers to flare. Piscateers Inc. President Dave Luke of Dalton denied the club bars minorities. We're not out to hurt anybody, Luke said. We're just here to keep what we have. Formed by families and close friends, an applicant must be sponsored by at least 2 active members to join. There's a self-imposed limit of 150 active members, and there's a waiting list. The clubhouse, which includes a bar, sits next to the lake, bordered by 142nd and Langley and Cottage Grove Avenue. The village ordered the Piscateers to vacate the premises by July 31st, but members ignored the warning. It belongs to us, said Luke, whose grandfather was a member. You figure if something has been in your family for many, many years, why would you want to give that up? In June of 1994, the village board, minus then Mayor Donald Hart, voted 4-1 with one abstention in favor of selling the lake to the Piscateers. But the suit contends that the village statute required 3/4 of the boards, 6 council members, and the mayor, or a total of 6 votes, to approve the sale of the village-owned property. Trustee Bert Herzog, man, what happened to him? He used to run for mayor a lot back in the day. Now, you guys, when you listen to me, this is a previously recorded video. I'm like, what happened to Bert Herzog? That's because in my early 20s, I worked for the Village of Dalton. And I think that some of the things that I'm seeing in the Village of Dalton right now is repetitive. And if we do not, if we do not stop and just keep on recycling the same mess, it's going to be like that. I'm not in politics per se. I'm more of a person that cares about the community. If I'm in community and what I want to do, it's some things that disappointed me this weekend. Totally. And when it comes out, I'll talk about it. I'm so disappointed. But being someone that's in the community and caring about the community, you can see how these things from the 90s are completely recycling. It's recycling over and over again. And we need to find out a way to talk to our new elected officials to find out when will they stop the recycling. And I don't mean it has to be the same people coming up to the podium week after week after week. And you know, I thought it was the only people that wanted to talk, you guys. No, those are the people that want to be on the podium first. It was like about 8 other people that wanted to say something. No one got a chance to talk but the same people that come up to the podium. That doesn't bring less value to what they have to say. But I just was like, can somebody else say something? Can somebody else bring light into the situation? So when I'm talking about Bert Herzog, I remember he was standing up there as the only white member on the board at one point. And if you look at the old board meetings, at this point, the only white woman on the board, like in 2019, was the clerk. He was the same way. And he would run for mayor. He run for this, he run for that, and he never would win. But he tried to join the Pritzker Lake Club. He tried to join, and they did this to him. Let's go back to it. And that's the recycling. That's the recycling. Nobody's standing up for other things. People being distracted by other things. I don't think things have to be fixed overnight, but I do think that Dalton is still in a classist ideology of what they're supposed to be. I'm right here and you're right here. It don't matter if you're black, white, or brown. The classistness of Dalton has to stop. Herzog, who was a mayor pro tem in June of 1994, said the board was advised by the village council that was the 4-1 vote was valid. Even with the case's obvious racial undercurrent, some legal experts believe the law may favor the club, saying that the board's failure to gain the required number of votes is the village's problem, not the Piscateers. Richard Epstein, who teaches property law at the University of Chicago, said as long as the Piscateers can prove they acted in good faith, then tough noogies. If the club wasn't aware of irregularities, then they have a strong argument that they can rely on the apparent authority of the village. Okay, so y'all, that's a lot. So they sold it. Let me see if Herzog is a member. It said Herzog said he would like to see the club retain the property despite his negative experience with the club in the past. He became the first and only Jewish member in 1976, but withdrew less than 2 years later after being subjected to ethnic remarks, he said. I was hearing a lot of old jokes over and over again, and the comfort factor just did not work for me. Okay, so Bert Herzog was a member, and then he got rid of his membership. Wow. So I'll leave it there. That was an older video I had made called Dalton Has a Lake and Residents Cannot Partake. And I just want the people that's on my small channel, please like, comment, and encourage someone to come over here that's a free thinker like you, critical thinker like you, where your comments are welcome. Everyone's comments are welcome. But I also want to point out that Dalton, still to this day, even with Black people, watch the class sections. when you watch the board meetings. I have to say that. I just do. I feel like it's my duty to say that. I feel like we see the same people who are valued in our community come up to the podium. Nobody knew. And I think that we need to address that for the next board meeting and when new people come about. That's just my thoughts. And I felt like I have a small smidget of, I want to talk about it. That's what I want to say. I don't think nobody's listening to me for real, but I just want to talk about it. I'm looking at things like, this ain't right. Y'all can't tell us to do this and then you do this. This is not right. And we'll discuss some of those things later. I'm definitely for the rights when it comes to the community. But I think that maybe we should speak about what we want now until waiting for the new administration. We know it's the new administration coming. We know, thank God, we hope, we pray to Jesus that Tiffany don't take over again, right? But maybe we need to voice to our new people what we want, what we expect, and then they can voice back, well, that'll take a little time to get that, or they'll let us know what it'll do to achieve that, because we're going to end up letting them lead the way, and then we're going to be disappointed again. Do anybody feel me, or am I sounding weird? Am I sounding weird? Let me know. Hey, Tony. Yeah, that lake is prime real estate, and I have thoughts on it. I have a lot of thoughts on it. Okay, I love this comment. I was turned around. Oh, Trustee yes, Steve, here's the link. Boom. I was turned away to speak. Your Burgundy Blue Commentary here. So that's what makes being a social media commentator so good. That's what makes it be so good, being able to tell people my experience. I was there on camera. I was denied the right to enter. On camera, I was denied the right to sign in. So that's all on camera. So if you have a rebuttal, let me know. Because that is great that you said that. The Open Meetings Act was definitely still violated. So that's where it comes good to be like a dual person, like that can be there and see. It was, and you know, and I sure as Steve know, I'm shy as heck when it comes to really saying anything. But this day I had questions, so I said, oh well, since they said anybody, Officer Terry came to the door and said, anybody want to speak? I raised my hand to speak and I was shut out. I was told to wait for somebody to come out. Then by that time, the list had filled up, and then I still tried to wait to come in and I couldn't come in. Now, this is the experience that's on video. So that's where auditing comes in play. That's when YouTubing comes in play. Isn't that so interesting how things come into play in real time? Because you were there to experience it. Yeah. I never made it in when Tiffany showed up. Were you trying to go in, Jay? I was trying to go in, and they wouldn't allow me to go in. So in that fact, to be honest, and it's not taking sides, but that's where Trina Downs come in. When all of us were locked out, she came in and gave us the form to fill out for the violation of the Open Meetings Act. I don't know Trina Downs personally. I got the form and I tried to get in, and it was a violation of the Open Meetings Act. So it wasn't shut down like the week before. So me being a non-political person. Oh, you said correct. If you made it in. Thank you, former trustee SC. If you made it in, they did not allow me entry. There you go. So That's some of the things I want to bring up. Tony says, and as residents, what we should have learned by now is to do our research before making decisions. Sorry, guys. I opened my garage. Before making decisions, to not make emotional decisions, to not allow ourselves to be influenced by the outside. Tony, you are so right. Let me tell you something. Don't allow yourself to be influenced by the outside, because at the end of the day, and Tony, if you with me, comment. If you're not, comment, please. Comment both ways. We got to live here. Y'all gonna be long gone. All the YouTubes and Facebook, y'all gonna be long gone. We gonna have to live here. We're gonna have to have our business here. We have to sell our properties here. We are here. You are right. Hey, Trican Green, that's why the trustees postponed the meeting for a bigger place so everybody can get in. That was the first board meeting. The second board meeting, the same thing happened, but they didn't do that as well. Now, did I think they should have? I'm not going to say yes or no. I don't know what the strategy was. But if you walked out on the first meeting because we weren't able to get in, what was the problem with the second meeting? Because it was visually people that still didn't get in, but the meeting continued. Trustee Ed Steve says, I didn't make it in the first meeting. I remember that. Tony says, when the dust clears, we're going to be all by ourselves. That's why, you guys, forgive me. Hit a blue heart if you're with me. I think we should put the pressure on now. Put the blue heart in the chat if we should put the pressure on now. We should not wait for other YouTubers, other Twitterers, other Instagrammers, other Facebookers to let this story die down. And then we stuck by ourselves. We should put the pressure on now. Put the blue heart in the chat. I think we should have our questions out now. We're so worried about if Tiffany gonna go to jail. We know she going to jail. I mean, basically, that's what I mean. I'm not trying to be funny, but basically, we know she in some amount of trouble, right? Shouldn't we do it now? Shouldn't we ask the new administration now? We should ask them now. What's the plan? What is the plan now? We shouldn't wait for people to be sworn in. We shouldn't wait for people to get awards. We should ask them now. What's the plan now? And if you guys have been on my channel at any point, you know I'm not a political, confrontational person. But we should ask them now. We bringing up everybody's sex secrets, but we're not asking what's the plan for Dalton future? What's the plan for our kids, grandkids, us, our property? We should ask now. And they're not going to have the answer overnight. But at this point, I'm like, skip Tiffany. The feds got Tiffany. What's the plan going forward now? She's not there, Carefree. She's not there. The plan is now, and we cannot be distracted. We have petitions coming out in November. We have election season coming up. The election is February. We should ask now, what's the plan? Now, if y'all ain't with me, I understand. Don't get me wrong, because it's okay to be out here by yourself. But I do have things that are, okay, we walked out one meeting because of the open meetings out, but we didn't walk out the next meeting. I get that, because business has to be handled. I get that. So did Clerk Key get on a bank account? If she did, just tell us you can't disclose us the information, because we heard y'all tell us that she won a case. So her winning a case, what's the details? What can you tell us about that? I feel like I'm on the outs, not with the wrong people. Just, I feel like so much of Tiffany contains us. It just smothers. Tiffany got so much going on. It smothers Dalton. You don't understand what I'm saying? So I'm not blaming the trustees or anything like that. I'm just saying Tiffany, what she got going on smothers Dalton, and nobody cares about Dalton. Does that make sense? Nobody cares about the residents. Does that make sense? Miss Hill got an Easter basket. Has anything happened since? Has anybody? Does that make sense? You know what I mean? Like, it's I don't know, because it's touchy. Like, do y'all feel me? Put the blue heart. Put the blue heart. Okay, so I'm sorry, Trustee SC said, I encourage everyone to show up and ask hard questions now. Come to the trustees meeting and ask Jason now. So you guys see that? Please do it. And please let me know at burgundybluecommentary@gmail.com if you are not able to get in and do so. And we'll do that. Thank you for that, Trustee Steve. Ask now. Now. Because this is what we're, and thank you, Trustee S. Steve. What? I'm sorry, I said Steve. That's from Tiffany. I said Steve. But that's what we need to know. The future. She done already jacked us up. Where are we going forward? Where are we going forward? What's going to happen forward? Please, let's not go into the salaciousness of everything. Let's not go into the misprint of everything. And Trustee S. Steve, I got something to say, but I ain't gonna say it on here, but I got something to say. I got something to say about I hope you put it on your page what happened. But demand a plan. Yeah, just something. Just give us a snippet. Let me tell you. Oh, questions were asked. Thank you, Jay Jones. That's the thing. Like, I'm not expecting Jason House to know, because he don't know everything that Tiffany tore through, right? So I'm not thinking he would know all the answers. But are we okay? Let's be fair. I think I'm voting for Jason House so far. But I want to be clear. What makes Jason House the best candidate? Is there any other candidates? Are we just rallying behind Jason House because he's the next person in line? Because I swear I'm not trying to be an asshole. Y'all don't hear me quote, hear me curse. But if he told me to vote for Tiffany, Jason House told me to vote for Tiffany. So how do I vote for him? Do he have something else he could tell us? I'm just being a critical thinker. Like, could he tell us why they voted in Dorothy Brown as trustees? They voted in Keith Freeman as trustees. So this is what I think we should have an honest discussion with the trustees. I think they're good. I think they mean well, but I think it has to be an honest conversation where they know that we're just not floating in the air, popping bubblegum. We really are looking into our community. I listened to a 12-hour live. I didn't listen to it, I'm not gonna lie, but Della, and it's not that Della influenced it, but Trina Downs does not come across as conventional. Let me be honest, she doesn't come across as conventional, but she makes sense. And whatever she says, you could Google it. She had questions. I think those questions should be answered. We got questions. Is it a boo-boo factory in Dalton? How many people knew it was a boo-boo factory in Dalton? That was all the waste from the neighboring suburbs was coming to Dalton. Is that true? Is that false? If it's false, let us know why. Have the people explain to us why. This is the problem. And I think that's what any outlet, people try to hide things. We need to talk about it. We need to talk about it. You know what I mean? Yeah, the boo-boo. Tony says, no, you're absolutely correct. But even if it makes sense, makes the trustees or some resident feel comfortable, there's still, I missed it. Oh, baby, Cynthia says some ordinances need to be placed in place right away. Yeah. Like, it shouldn't be just a single, if you want to talk about it, let's talk about it. That's not going to happen. I was standing outside banging on the door with a pie. House should discuss his plan just like presidential candidates as well as any other candidate. I think so too. I really like Jason House. I don't know much about him other than he told us in the middle of COVID to vote for Tiffany Henyard. That's all I know of Jason House. I think me and Jason House are the same age. I've never met Jason House, but remember, I want you to picture how I was telling y'all how Dalton is segregated. So I went to grammar school and I never met Miss Vivian or Jason House. And if Miss Vivian lived if Miss Vivian lived across the street from Tiffany, I lived across the street from Miss Vivian. Can y'all hear me now? You will, but you should have been more. Edward Steve say, Burgundy, I hope to see you at the next tea with all these questions. You should have seen me at the village hall with all these questions because technically, that's where the minutes would have went in, right? Trustee Ed Steve. And I'm not trying to be an asshole, but you were an asshole with that. That's just it. And I'm calling it what it is because you already know how I feel about this weekend. You do know. Okay. So and I'm not being a jerk to Trustee Ed Steve. I really have a fondness for him, but we're gonna talk about it on my channel as soon as he posts about it. We're gonna talk about it, just to be clear. We're gonna talk about it. So you can't ask me to come to tea with the trustees and spend my gas money, and ask me to spend gas money at the board meeting, and ask me to spend gas money at the secret squirrel meeting. Allegedly, I'm not saying y'all doing that. But y'all are letting my rights be violated at the damn meeting. You see what I'm saying? My rights shouldn't be violated, and I shouldn't have to wait to tea with the trustees. My rights should not be violated at any of them. And it's not your fault per se, but this comment warranted that. That's what I'm saying. And y'all know I love me some Ed Steves, but no. You can't expect me to voice my opinion at tea with the trustees. Pull up the video where any of the tea with the trustees are on record. I want to voice my opinion at the board meeting. Do you hear what I'm saying? And I'm not trying to be rude. You know, I got love for you, Ed Steves, but no, you can't slide with that one. There you go. Let's go to what I was saying. Well, y'all, my phone got cut off. I was talking to y'all on girl. I had my beans on and my phone cut off. Y'all know how I talk to y'all, but yeah, I think that we should have some kind of comfort as residents. That's all I want. Comfort as residents. Comfort in our leadership. That's it. That's all. That's it. That's all. Now, I'm right now, Burgundy Blue Commentary. Like I said, I've never met Jason House other than in person at the age of 45. I grew up in Dalton, but remember, this goes back to Dalton history. This is what the people outside of Dalton need to Remember, Jason House grew up in Dalton, right? But Miss Vivian grew up in Dalton, and she said that she was neighbors with Tiffany. Well, hell, Miss Vivian, if you was across the street from Tiffany, you should have been at school with me, and I don't remember you. You see what I'm saying? So we go, I mean, I'm just saying, not to, in a rudeness, but we go into the history of Dalton, the segregation of Dalton, the school board segregation of Dalton. It's deeper. I know you guys are looking at it like Tiffany Henyard caused all this. She caused a lot. Tiffany Henyard caused a lot. But let's go back to how Jason House could live in a 4-mile radius town, and Burgundy Blue Commentary could live in a 4-mile radius town and never meet each other a day in their lives from grammar school on up, because he went to Roosevelt, west side of Dalton. He went to Thornton, Harvey. Meanwhile, I'm in Dalton, east side of Dalton. I go to Thornridge. It was all in the school system, and we're going to cover that on Burgundy Blue Commentary. We're going to cover that over here. I think it's really interesting that you see how segregated and separate Dalton is. Look at Jay Jones. I've been living here since 2004. I don't know but one neighbor. I go to the board meetings. I go to the rallies. I go to the tea with the trustees. I stay in the background. I'm not trying to be seen. Before Ed Steve or anybody knew who I was at the tea with the trustees, never greeted, never welcome. And that's when the tea with the trustees were empty. You know what I mean? Unless it was election time. I'm just being honest. Now that I'm being honest, this is my truth. You can't take it away from me. Now that Dalton is popular and has its Dalton celebrities, it's a lot different. When you walk into the room, people want to know who you are. People want to know if you live here. It's a lot different, and I think that's a good thing. I'm not knocking it. Dalton had a little bit low energy before. Tiffany did a good thing for Dalton in a way. Jay Jones, maybe you could back me up. Choose compassion. Any Dalton, Tony. Dalton put a spot. The bloggers put a spotlight on Dalton that made people notice the residents. Do you guys feel like that? Like now we're seen. We're not customers. We're residents. Do anybody feel like that, or is it just me? We're not a customer. We're a resident. You know what I mean? Okay, Miss Marie said that's what I experienced as well, Burgundy. So I never went again. And I hope Trustee Ed Steve is in here, who we love, but that he could see that's how y'all was treating us before it came. Like, you have to just hear the truth. That's somebody I don't even know. Miss Marie said that's what I've experienced as well, so I never went again. Choose Compassion said yes. Tony said yes. You don't feel that way. It's just you. I don't feel that way. How did you feel, Jay Jones? Let me know. I love that. And it shouldn't have taken all that. Yeah. Let me know, Jay Jones, how you feel. You know you welcome here. Tiffany and Keith are running that deceit show. They're cleared out of emails and firing people. They talk to. Oh my God. As a resident, you guys are entitled to certain things, and not the same. It's not some act of kindness. It's government. You pay your taxes. That's your entitled. Yeah. See, we didn't know that. Let me be honest. Before the auditors came, before the spotlight was on Dalton, I didn't know what we needed as citizens. I remember, and you guys, I kind of chucked it up to I was in Tiffany district, if you will. Like if you have aldermen, I was like, man, I would see Tiffany go door to door. You know how y'all say she was going door to door to those chitlins? I didn't see that. But I did see Tiffany go door to door as a trustee checking on people. I have to say that I'm not a Tiffany fan. I think what she did was mess up the bag and mess up the opportunity. I really think she did. But can I say I met any of my other trustees? No. But I'm accrediting that to I thought she was in my district. You know what I mean? So if Miss Vivian, I'm getting back to that, if she was across the street from Tiffany, I should have went to school with Miss Vivian. I don't remember her. So it's so many things. When I get in line at places, I'm like, I don't know none of these people. And not that it's pretty cool, but I'm just like, wow. Do anybody remember how Dalton used to be that did move here for a better life? That's all I gotta say. And this is what I want to say, Cleophas. Everyone has a different experience. That's the point. It was this cool article I wrote. I read about this trustee that came to Dalton in 18 something. And it actually made me think of Trustee Ed Steve, because we heard his journey, how he came to Dalton maybe 12 years ago, 13 years ago. I don't want to misquote the year, but how he came from another city and found Dalton to be his home. And that is remarkable. To see that it would be some guy in 1800s that took Dalton from Dalton wasn't supposed to be Dalton, y'all. We'll get to that. We talked about that. It wasn't supposed to be named Dalton. That man Dalton stole it from another person, and he stole it from the Winnebago Indians, but we'll get to that. I don't want to get to that. But to see that 100 years later, a Black man will be a trustee, that's really interesting to me. I don't think that everybody in the community will get along. I don't think everybody has to listen to me. I don't think everybody has to listen to the officials, but I would love to hear what the plan is. Once things calm down, what is the plan? I do understand the trustees are going through stress, because, baby, I wouldn't be, y'all know how I be looking at Brittany Norwood, like, girl, go. But I wouldn't be able to sit up there with straight. I would have been over the bench. That's why they're called to do their job. I would have been reaching over the bench at Miss Henya if she were yelling at me like Kiana Belcher and her were yelling. But that's why they have their calling, right? But I think that the citizens are put in a class, and that's what I want to talk about, including the lake. I think that some things are classes. I want to make my stuff on record on YouTube. So when people start talking about it later, they're going to be like, Burgundy was right. Yeah. I think this needs to stop now. Jared says, Dalton was beautiful and safe back in the 90s and early 2000s. I agree. Dalton was also, hey, Stephen. Dalton was home to so many people that wanted to not be so far from downtown from work, but have a better place for their community. Why the lawyer that ran away with the spoon? The dish ran away with the spoon. That's it. So it's not like this whole video is not to be negative on Dalton, and I don't want to be backpedaling coochie popping. But what I'm saying is, I do see the classlessness, where people are, even though we Black, people are classifying people. And I want to note it on Burgundy Blue Commentary. Y'all classifying people. And this is nobody but 105 people are on this live. And this probably won't go past this live, because a lot of people in Dalton, the word is, oh, we not worried about nobody but O'Shea Duke Jackson. Oh, we ain't worried about nobody but Pink Book Blessings. Oh, we ain't worried about nobody but Hannibal is hungry. Oh, we not worried about nobody but I'm not saying that, but I'm saying I want my stuff on record. So those bigger YouTube channels can always go back and reference next year. Was Dalton classifying the citizens? That's it. Sort of like how we can't get into that lake. It's not a stretch. It's the same. Put the 2 and 2 together. On the outside, please remember. And I'm just Burgundy Blue. I ain't nobody but old lady with a computer. But anytime I feel the need to speak out, I'm going to speak out. And that has been my thing. Like this, oh, we're going to hold exposing over people's head, or we're going to do this over people's head. Classifying is over people's head too. And if you guys are critical thinkers like me, Make sure you put that in your back pocket. Put it in your back pocket for later dates. It don't have to be for today. Thank you, Choose Compassion. Yes, Dalton was a very good community back in the day. The movie theater, library, the people really cared for each other. They really did. Oh, side note, the library got some banging events. Have y'all looked on the library? I didn't know Dalton Public Library, and that's a thing. I know that Long Island Audit went there and it sort of looked kind of weird, but that made me Google the Dalton Public Library and look at their current events. They got a lot of events, so check it out. I think it's important to support the Dalton Public Library. You're a person with actual life info. Yeah, I'm a person. I'm a person. But in the world of social media, let me say this kindly. This is the most publicity Dalton has ever had. And a lot of people are getting, I'm not trying to say it bad. It's changing a lot of people because this is the most publicity Dalton has ever had. That's all I'm gonna say. They turned the movie theater into a nightclub, and now it's a dump. It's sad. I always went as a kid. Now so many liquor stores and gas stations. Now, oh my God, I used to love you, Jared. But the gas station, I mean, not the gas station, the movie theater, the floor, I can picture in my head. It was always so sticky. But it was $1, and then you could go across the street to Nick's Sports Page. Now, I don't imagine things to be the same, but I do think that maybe that Creole restaurant and stuff like that that was open, that would have opened across the street, would have been a good look for Dalton. And maybe putting something back in the theater. Something back. It could have been like a private. Chicago is huge for independent films. It could have been a private viewing area. But I don't know what's going on up in there. But I can't act like I wasn't in secrets when it was live, child. I'm sorry. God King Consciousness, love that name. Community and open lines of dialogue, it seems to be needed everywhere, not just Dalton. Yeah, I think it needs to be okay. I think this is separate from Dalton, but let's take Thornton Township. The fact that they voted Tiffany in and they didn't trust, and that was words from Chris Gonzalez. They didn't want a town hall meeting. They thought it would be a big thing. They didn't allow the people to vote. That shows a lot of what they thought about their citizens, and that's Thornton Township, not Dalton. That classism happens in many Black communities, ATL, DC, Dallas, Fort Worth. Dalton is turning into, I just have to put it out there, Dalton is turning into the haves and have-nots. It really is. And I see it, and I want to say something about it. Like I said, it's only 100 people in here, so nobody will ever hear it. But yeah, the classism is real. It's real. It's the bourgeois. What was it? What was it in what was that Spike Lee movie? Remember with Tisha Campbell, and it was the wannabes and I can't think of School Days. Dalton is turning into School Days, y'all. It's turning into School Days. When can we do an interview on a Dalton Trustee YouTube page? Whenever you want. I'm always ready, Trustee Ed Steve. I'm always ready. As a citizen, I'm always ready. As a citizen. As someone that's fond of Trustee Ed Steve, because I think he really delves in, that's another story. But I'm going to call it out. I'm going to call you Look, what they say on the color purple, not the color purple, Coming to America. If your daddy named you Ed, I'm going to call you Ed. And that's what you're going to get for Burgundy Blue Commentary, because it is definitely a classist. I don't know if you're aware of it, but it's turning into a classist area. It's the Gucci's versus the Pradas. It is. Regina said, you're a good person, Burgundy. That's why people are drawn to you. You are authentic and you show your heart. Keep doing you. Thanks, Regina. I try. I'm I try. I'm just a little old lady with a computer, but when I see something, I'm like, oh no, 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 not today. And it doesn't matter on, like, I do put like my Cash App or my buy me a coffee or something like that. It doesn't matter because you guys, I don't know if you guys know that. Like, I save everything you give me on this channel. And shout out to Lori P. Lori P bought me a raincoat and a microphone. She went to my Amazon wish list and got me some the microphones, because remember I did the interview with the funnel cake man wife, and y'all couldn't hear her, but that was because of the wind. She got me all kind of cool equipment. Thank you, Lori P. So I'm gonna keep doing me, but I hope that people realize, like, I'm not in it. I was talking reality TV. Della mentioned that, and I think Shay mentioned that, and I think Hannibal mentioned that. I was doing reality TV. I was already on YouTube. What happened, how I switched over to talking about Dalton, much like today, I can look into any Dalton politics website or anything, and people addresses are exposed. And I feel some kind of way about that. Like, let's expose a person, but not their address, because they have families to protect. I know it's public knowledge. I know this. So I'm like, Regina, I'm in that in between. I'm like, oh, I know you're a public servant, but I don't want to know where they live. And I don't think it's proper to post somebody making $200,000 a year and their address. I think that's scary. In Chicago, we from the Chi. This is still the Chi. I don't think that's cool. So I just want to voice my small town opinion when I can. And I try not to be mean about it, but I want people to know this little voice, it got some sternness in it. Okay, I'm sitting over here. Come with what you're going to come with, because I'm an open book. But I think it should be talked about, like, where do we go from here? Can you answer this question? Why was it the open meetings last time, but our rights were not open this time? Just little questions, nothing big. But I know I do know the ins and outs. Business got to continue. Business got to continue. But do you really care about Dalton? Do you really care about the residents? I want to know. Do you really care about Dalton? Do you really care about the residents? I want to know. I read this certain person is posting public workers' addresses on a group, even though the information is available publicly. It scares me. It scares me because I feel like their family has nothing to do with it. That's what brought me to YouTube, Ted. That's what brought. It was a YouTuber I respected and loved, and I was following, and then he started posting just public information. But it'll be like 142nd, and I'd be like, oh my God, they don't even live, because I live in the area. I was like, they don't even live there. Their 95-year-old grandma lived there, and they're just using the address. And they got the address out there, so somebody will go knock on the door. That's how I was thinking. And I find it funny that we should, okay, can you guys, Ed Steve, you still in here? I want to be clear. If they're doing this on Dalton Politics to Tiffany crew, how you think they're not going to do this to Jason House crew? Do I make sense? Y'all put a blue heart if I make sense. If people are mad at Tiffany Henyard crew for getting raises, how we know they're not going to do that to Jason House and Trustees crew and put their information out there? You do? Am I making sense? We have to stop it and communicate at some point. If I'm wrong, tell me I'm wrong. Tell me I'm wrong. I'm just sitting over here like, okay, you mad at Tiffany, so you putting the secretary information, public works information. So if you get mad at Jason House, and I'm not encouraging this, you're not going to put their information out there? And who is moderating the group? Somebody was in there talking about Miss Vivian like a damn dog. Didn't nobody cut it off? It got to 98 comments. I'm sorry. Let me just back it up. Let me just back it up. That's where I am at. Like, when do we end? Tiffany Barbie. No, I'm just saying, like, if we could do the same thing, who's to say they won't put out clerk key information? Y'all have the ability. So basically we're hanging on your whimsical balls to decide who information want to release. That's scary. It's scary to me, but people will hee ha ha when it's done to Tiffany and her cronies. But it could be done to even me, Burgundy Blue. It could be done to me. Are y'all gonna say something when they be like, here go Burgundy Blue over here at the lake on a pole that was not a fishing pole? I'm just joking. Like, when do it stop? When do the insanity stop with the, because, and I'm only asking because these are real people lives. Real people lives. That's all. I don't mean to take away from the dialogue. I'm just saying, do we end it somewhere? Now, do I think that some of them people like Kamal deserve it or Tiffany deserve it? Yeah. But we digging. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Like I said, you guys are, I appreciate y'all telling me I'm wrong. I'm just sitting over here like, man, when do it stop? So if one person get into the mayor's seat and they make a mistake, like they're going to put all their information out too? Is it any kind of, I'm just asking. Somebody said, why can't the trustees vote to have a Q&A at the meeting? I don't think the trustees get away. Like, I was listening to Clerk Key, and she was saying, like, they block her from everything. So I think my question is, you know how the clerk get the board meeting, but I think I can self-answer this. You know how they make the agenda for a secret squirrel meeting, as Tiffany called it? Why can't they bring that agenda into the regular board meeting and say, hey, we want to add these to the agenda and see if she violates that? Has that ever been an issue? I don't know. Oh, snap. Dun, 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 dun. Okay, Goddess. That was my intro for you. That wasn't a good one. Goddess, there's the link, the StreamYard. I'm just wondering, am I wrong? Like, when does it stop? Like, anytime the public sway to one person, do we go that way? I don't know. I'm trying to figure out. Okay, bringing up Goddess Watts because y'all like Burgundy. I'm sick of you. Okay, here you go. Goddess, hey. Can we hear you? Hey, Goddess, can we hear you? Are you there? Uh-oh. Let me see. I don't hear him. I don't see him moving. Oh, it say mute. I'm unmuting. Unmute. Oh, they mute themselves. So let's wait because Goddess muted himself. So, Cynthia, hey, missed you, Burgundy. So glad you're back. Thank you. Ooh, you hit a pothole. Tony, be careful. We're just waiting on Goddess to click in and see. She won't do it because she controls the agendas. Yeah, you know what? I think she does control the agendas. And I think that's why they have to have, which I think is amazing for the public, that they go ahead and have that second meeting. Because we do those two meetings, right? So kudos to the trustees for doing that. Thank you for that. Because they didn't have to. They could sit at home watching Netflix. Okay, let's bring up Goddess Watts. Hey, Goddess, you live.
Hey, can you hear me?
We can hear you. Hey.
Hey, I was just seeing if everything was okay. You seem kind of fired up today.
Oh, shoot. Let me calm it down.
No, but that's good. That's good.
You know what? I'm usually not. Okay, this weekend, something happened, got me fired up. I thought it was out my system. It's not. So that explains it. So thanks for telling me. You're a real friend that tell me to bring it back. And I'm at work, and look, the people looking through the look through the glass, like, what is she talking about? I'm like, yo, we need to do this.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no. I was just calling to, just to kind of
Well, let me stop.
see. But you know what though, everything you said was correct, and you know me, I've been saying this for like the last couple of weeks now. Like the focus should definitely switch from Tiffany to what is Dalton and Township gonna do now, because it could be any day that Tiffany could be arrested. And like you said, what is the succession plan? You know, um, apparently we already know in Dalton kind of like what's going to happen there, but the township is not so not so certain, because obviously you have senior trustees and like Pepe and Jerry Jones and I believe Gonzalez, but will they do the same thing that they did before of waiting for the complete, waiting for the whole 60 days to elect a supervisor and pull something up they, but and like you said, name Carmen the supervisor for the next couple of months. Like, yeah, we really don't, we really don't want to go through that again. So yeah, the succession plan is I mean, we should have been working on this for like, I mean, we're way past due now. Because not just who's going to take their place, but I think you bring up some relevant questions. Okay, what's the plan? Because we already are expecting the worst in Dalton. We already are expecting a big, huge deficit. And how are we going to, how are we going to maneuver that? How are we going to get out of this deficit? What's the plan? And give it to us real. We all know that this is not going to be overnight. I don't want to, I don't want to hear from the new administration by next year talking about we in the surplus, because we know you lying. And just like Tiffany's doing with the township, claiming that it was a deficit when she came in, and she
Mhm.
claims it's a surplus, and yeah, all that kind of crap. We don't want to hear that. Just give it to us straight. What's the damage? How long is it going to take? And what's your plan, or what's our plan? Because sometimes, and this is what's happening with the current administration. Sometimes their plan is their plan, and it has nothing to do with the residents. The residents are not involved, and this whole thing of separation of the government and the people is definitely something you see, and it has caused a lot of tension and friction amongst the residents, that Tiffany does not really involve the residents. I mean, take a look at the board meetings.
Mhm.
She don't even let the people in. Um so yeah, what is our plan? What is our plan to fix the city? What is our plan to repair the reputation of the township? And that's the question that the new administration needs to answer. Now, the township probably isn't as badly off as Dalton, uh, but at the same time, there is some things that needs to be put back in place that she has removed, and then continue to gain trust amongst the township residents after this administration. But Dalton has a big uphill battle to climb, because they have much more at stake, much more things that they have to repair, and yeah, that's something that it's going to be a challenge.
I agree. And thanks for calling in, because let me tell you, my blood pressure was getting high. And a lot of times you guys don't see behind the scenes, people are texting me, don't say that. Don't say, I'm saying what I want to say today. Today is Burgundy Day to say what she want to say. And Gardis put it in a nice way. What's the plan? That's all I think I was trying to say in the last 2 hours I've been on. What's the plan? why are we not talking about a plan? We're just talking about Tiffany and how we're gonna watch her go to jail and how we're gonna wear orange. No, what's the plan for us in the future that have to live here past Tiffany? That's all I want to know. I'm a little confused about that.
Yeah. So in the comments, I asked about the I guess this waste processing facility, or what Trina Downs calls it, the Dookie facility. Um, and somebody, I think somebody answered it, because I asked if it was owned by, was it owned by the village or was it privately owned?
I think former trustee Ed Steve, are you still in the comment section? Can you answer that if possible? Because we do not know. Because I remember Trina was saying they got a class this, a class that. I think that's interesting to find out. Do the village own it or is it privately owned? Now, I was told by an elected official that I asked about the poo-poo factory, as we like Trina says, and they told me, oh, Trina's, no, that's not true. It's just soap water and grease going through it. That's what I was told as a citizen recently.
Okay. So because the thing too is, when you have those type of facilities, um, and correct me if I'm wrong, the EPA has to certify these things, and obviously through the village, because I don't even think the village could put up something like that unless it's EPA certified, especially when you're talking about wastefield. Now, there are ways cities can get around it, ways companies can get around it. Obviously, you see in Chicago, I think earlier you talked about the 20-something landfills that is in the neighborhood of Riverdale, and I'm not talking about the village. I'm talking about the adjacent neighborhood that's in Chicago, and I guess they found ways around that. From my understanding, city hall bribes in Chicago and stuff like that. And a couple of years ago, they were going to move a steel factory from the north side to that particular area, until the EPA got involved in that, and so Lightfoot had to stop that. I mean, then now you're about to put another factory polluting facility. But another thing too is that waste. And I'm not trying to justify it, but one of the things that I was thinking about in just analyzing it is, if it is privately owned, what are the, because one of the things that we have to understand too is that taxes, like what type of taxes are the village getting to host this facility? Because I'm wondering if that's the reason why that's there. I mean, you know what I'm asking.
And that was something. Like I said, I fell asleep last night, but that was something Trina was mentioning. Like they got a class, something, class 8, I think she said. I don't know the ins and outs, but that is on my list to look in. And Trustee Ed Steve said it's privately owned. So yeah, we have to look at what kind of taxes the villages are getting. But I think they might have snuck in through the pandemic, right, Curtis? Like, so did they snuck in? So was it less, like, did they get in right before less restraints were involved, or after less restraints were involved?
Well, I don't think EPA restrictions were lifted during the pandemic. I mean, I think you still had to follow the rules and regulations of waste. Yeah, I'm not sure, but like I said, I was just trying to rationalize it. Not to say it was right or wrong, but I was just trying to rationalize why they would, if it is a waste processing facility, so there's still questions amongst other people about, that whole facility. But if it is, I'm thinking that maybe the tax revenues might justify it. And if you get rid of something like that, not only does that tax base go away, but the cost, because I'm pretty sure it costs a lot to put that up. So now you have to get rid of it, and it's sort of like, how much is that gonna cost? So it probably saves you money just to keep it there, and probably generate something, because with the number of businesses that have left Dalton in the last 3 years, the tax base has gone down, and I'm pretty sure that when businesses leave, the residents follow.
Mm. I didn't think about that. Like if they leave, that's going to leave a tax void. See, those are the things that I guess I should have been at the earlier board meetings to figure out when they voted that situation in, if it was a vote. But yeah, that's interesting. So to make them leave, it's just an empty space and then a void of tax revenue, right?
Yeah, and then like I said, the money that it'll take, because I'm pretty sure the village might have to foot the cost of cleaning up that area, since it is an EPA regulated space. How much they're going to have to pay to just clean that stuff up? Because I don't know if you know, but when gas stations close, it's hard to sell that land, because they have tanks in there that cost money that cost basically money to remove. And this is why in some villages you see empty lands where gas stations is at just be empty for a long time, unless another gas station comes is put there.
Yeah. I never thought about that. You do see it, they're just vacant for a long time. Ms. Marie said the tax burden falls on the resident. And Leslie says, as a citizen, why not take a tour of the facility? I saw pictures with several trustees at the ribbon cutting with that previous mayor. But I think they've been open like 3 or 4 years now, right? So I think we should have been invited at the grand opening, maybe. I don't know if they would do tour of the facilities now.
Yeah, that would be something to FOIA. I don't know if Trina, some of these other people who have been concerned about it, to FOIA what is what's the tax revenue that they're collecting on it, and if it's even worth it, to have that facility there. Because I'm willing to bet you that's why they probably still have it there, because it's probably the highest tax revenue privately owned business. I'm not sure, because thinking of the businesses that's in Dalton right now, like, well, I mean, like, let me get your opinion. What do you think is the biggest business in Dalton commercially?
Oh, food for less?
Okay, yeah, I mean, yeah, that makes sense. Maybe Food for Less is probably the highest tax-based business there. So yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. But
Food for less or Walgreens, right? Maybe.
I'd probably say Food for Less, because Food for Less also has the gas station too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they got the gas station. So yeah, they're probably pulling in more than Walgreens, because also too, Walgreens they're having issues as a company overall, because they've been closing a lot of Walgreens. I'm actually surprised they haven't closed the one on Sibley yet.
I am too. I thought after the what did they? It's not the riots, but they were calling it the I forgot. But after the George Floyd sad situation, the unrestless that they had barred it up, the civil unrest. I knew they were going to be gone, and they were back. Knew that Walgreens or Sibley was going to be gone.
Yeah, but yeah, that's important when you talk about the tax base of a village, and it could either help or hurt a village, especially. And this is one of the reasons why villages get so destitute, especially when you was talking about the gentrification and moving Black folks into into certain areas, especially in certain parts of the Southland. All of those gentrified people that came from Harvey, came to Harvey and Riverdale. And what's so weird, I think I saw a report that not a lot of them went to Dalton, because Dalton typically had like the retirees that started living there. So when you talk about the Section 8 or the people who were affected by many of the when the projects that went down in Chicago and Inglewood and Back of the Yards and all these other neighborhoods that they tried to shuffle those residents in were filled up. They ended up moving to, like I said, Harvey, Riverdale, Dixmoor, in those areas. And not a lot of them went to Dalton. Some of them did, but not a lot of them went. Majority went to Harvey. But then when you started seeing the exiting of the businesses. But I think with Harvey, that actually started back in the 70s. So when the tax-based revenue started going down in Harvey back in the 70s, and that was that started with the closing of a lot of stores. You also had the mall, Dixie Highway Mall, which killed the businesses in Harvey. So that's important. And when businesses leave like that, then the city run, the city gets low on funds, gets low on money, and this is how they gentrify folks.
Yeah.
This is how poverty is stricken into an area where many people in these areas, when they shop, they got to go out of town. They literally have to go out of town. And what was so evident about that was when I was in Alabama last month, I went to Selma. And when I was in Selma, I saw, it was almost like I was driving through a section of Harvey or even Riverdale, where it was like so many abandoned buildings. But yet they're telling me that, thousands of people each year come to the Edmund Pettus Bridge. And for people that don't know, Edmund Pettus Bridge is the bridge that Dr. King and several other civil rights leaders marched to Montgomery. They walked through that bridge and, struggle for voting rights. But thousands of people come into the town, and this is thousands of outsiders that come into the town. So I asked somebody there, was like, okay, so where do people go to the hotel, go buy food? And many of the people told me there was like, oh, they don't spend their money in here. They have to go to the outskirts of the town to do all that. So you mean to tell me the money is not, even though all of these people literally walk on the soil of Selma, they spend their money outside of the city?
Yep. Yeah. Isn't that crazy? Now that is unbelievable. I would have never known that.
Yeah. And remember last year was the 50th anniversary? The 50th or 60th anniversary of Bloody Sunday. And if you can remember last year around March, Biden was there, Kamala Harris was there. It was a contingency of Washington politicians that was there. What was it? It was last year, the year before. I think it was the year before. And yeah, it was sort of like all these people, some of them millionaires, come into Selma, do this famous march, and they go back out of town. But yet Selma is blighted. From my understanding, it's one of the poorest cities in Alabama, and Alabama ain't all that rich either. So, yeah, that really says something. And speaking of which, remember, Tiffany also spent time in Alabama too.
I was going to say,
she went to
Selma herself.
She crossed the bridge with Township Fund. So.
It's something. And Selma, I would have never thought, because I'm not there, it's poor still. Like, it's still going through financial challenges.
Oh, yes. It is going through several financial challenges. So talking to people and reading about the history of it, I guess apparently Selma at one point, I will probably say they said roughly about 30 years ago, it was still fairly white people there. And then as the white people started to move out, white flight, all the businesses started to move out with them. And this is what happens when Black folks, get into a city and all the businesses leave. Now, many people would, attribute it as, what did they say when the Walmart over in Homewood left? They said it was retail loss, that type of thing. But it can't be for every business in the Black community. So, sometimes I think those excuses are very tired, and also too, Walmart is so big. The retail loss the retail loss is really nothing to them, because they get all the money off of insurance. So it's probably the executives probably they didn't make a good enough bonus to put fuel in their jets or something like that. So who knows? But the capitalist mindset is part of this plan of what's happening in a lot of the Southland, and and that includes Dalton. And so when you think about, and you were talking about classism, talking about this war of classism, along with racism, which you really can't really untangle those two, because they're cousins. And many people argue, as far as, like, say, going back to the slave trade, that was the motivation behind slavery. Part of the motivation was capitalism. I mean, obviously you had racism, where Black folks were not considered human. They were like mules that was forced to work all day. But you're still seeing these conflicts of classism and racism when you put a whole bunch of Black folks in a particular area, and then move the businesses out of town, where they have to go to Orland or even to neighboring areas like South Holland to get their food. And so yeah, you see something like that. Now, at least Dalton does still have Food for Less, which is a major food market. But I'm just thinking off the top of my head, what does Harvey have?
Oh my gosh, Harvey is so sad. I got stuck by the train tracks the other day, and I was looking at it I was like, it's not even Arnie's Pizza anymore. It's just
they do have that. I think it's called Pete's as well. It's over on Dixie Highway. I think they do have that.
But isn't that Dixmoor, the Dixmoor
Yeah,
market?
you know what? I'm wondering if
I
that
don't
is
think
Dixmoor.
that's Harvey.
Okay, you know what? That's a good question.
I don't think that's Harvey. I literally got stuck by the train in Harvey Gardens, and I had to go around the train trying to go by Ingalls, which isn't Ingalls anymore, right? It's University of Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
Going around, Harvey it's nothing there anymore. It's nothing there. I was really saddened to see. I remember going to Bob Watson to try to get a car back in the day. Harvey had nothing. When I drove around, I drove all the way from where you said the meat market, like right over back before you get to the Arnie's Pizza. The train came, so I went around, and I ended up behind Thornton High School. And it was nothing but, not even a Walgreens. The Walgreens was closed. It's not even a Walgreens on 147th. So, but doesn't and this would be a good question for Ryan. Doesn't Harvey get a lot of money from the Metro to have those two major Metro stops of a major hub? I just was thinking that, because I was like, it could do better.
Yeah, that is a good question. However, here's the problem, and it's so funny. I was noticing this the other day as I was driving past the metro station that I used to get on at 147th Street, and I remember. So the last time I was working downtown was 2015, so almost 10 years ago. And I specifically remember every morning that lot was almost full. And I used to get on the train like at about 7 o'clock. And I would have to park like, close to the back in order to get on. Now I drive by there, when I'm going on my lunch break, and the lot isn't even half full. And so when you talk about most of the people who ride the metro in the morning have jobs in Chicago. And from my understanding, not a lot of people are traveling into the city anymore to work because A, a lot of people got laid off, or B, people work from home now. So Metro probably is taking a hit on this as well because not too many people are riding the Metro anymore.
Wow, I didn't think about that. I thought everybody used the metro to go downtown. Wow.
No. I mean, yeah, you do, but when the numbers reduce, then yeah, you're not going to get that many people on the train, especially if you're working from home.
Oh, right. I didn't forgot. Yeah. So that took people working from home, that took a cut out of it. More jobs are coming elsewhere. You don't have to just have a downtown hub. Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I think Channel 9 is supposed to be doing some investigating reporting on downtown and how it's downtown isn't as vibrant as it used to be anymore, which is weird because I remember working downtown and like like during the summertime, especially when it's hot, there'd be 1,000 people, like thousands of people just walking around. And I remember I was in downtown last summer during a work day, and it just didn't. It looked like it was. It looked like it was like a Sunday where nothing was going on, and it was just not a lot of people just walking around. Like, wow, it just felt eerie to me. It felt very eerie. But yeah, it's like they're going to be doing an investigative reporting about areas in downtown that's not doing so good. Office spaces that are being unoccupied. And yes, it's interesting when you talk about that tax base, that tax revenue, because also too, unemployment is a huge thing when you talk about your residents. One of the things about places like Harvey and Riverdale is there's a very high unemployment rate. And when you have that high unemployment rate, eventually they're either getting tax revenue from Section 8, if they do get taxes, I'm not sure, off Section 8 property. But that's with unemployment, the only taxes they get it is off the unemployment checks if they're eligible for it. So the more working people you have in a city, the more revenue you can garner. So there has to be an encouragement of jobs. Obviously, villages like Dalton and Harvey and even South Holland, they can't employ every single resident. So most of them, they have to go into the city. And this is where Chicago becomes a major factor on why Chicago is important to the Southland, because majority of the people who are tax-paying people have jobs in the city, or some of the times you have a lot of people who have businesses in the city.
Yeah.
Because that's where majority of the population is at. This is where you got to go. And in a lot of cases, a lot of people that that live in our areas in the Southland are just here to live. We just have homes here. Very few of us, like myself, actually work within the Southland. Those of us who do have jobs, I'm willing to bet you majority of the people work with a company that is within the Chicagoland area. And yeah, that's the whole gist of it. The employment base. I was looking at I was looking at this video about Ford Heights and how Ford Heights, and you know what, I wanted to tell you this because I went on the Ford Heights website and was looking at some of their meeting minutes, and I pulled up some meeting minutes from a 2022 meeting. I mean, it's so crazy. Now, now I'm pulling up meeting minutes in Ford Heights, which is, how did I get to that point?
Isn't that crazy? Me, I do things like that.
But here's the thing. So in the minutes, they were talking about paying a settlement to a law firm that basically was they were delinquent in paying because I guess they didn't have the money to pay him. Take a wild guess who that law firm was.
Please don't tell me. Is it them?
Who was them?
Was it Delgado?
It was Delgado.
Oh no!
They had to pay. There was a settlement of $37,000. The village of Ford Heights had to pay them because they were behind in their village. They were behind in their legal payments.
I always said Delgado saw Tiffany coming. That's my.
And I said, I was like, look at this. They done bankrupt because like, and this was before all this that happened. Ford Heights has been blighted for like decades. Like they had to liquefy their police force. They may have like 2 people in their fire department.
Mm-hmm.
I believe there was somebody. I believe that they couldn't make payroll. One of the reasons why they had to liquefy their police force is because they couldn't make payroll.
Oh wow!
So yeah, I mean it was Fort Heights. It's a mess. Like they many people predict like it's gonna be a buried city in the next 10 years. Like people are just gonna abandon the city.
Yeah, I've never been there.
And it's just gonna be grassland. That's all that is. It's gonna be an abandoned city because right now they have a mayor who was indicted, and I think he was charged with something, and he get reelected again.
That's what Gargis. Maybe you can help us. That's what I keep telling people. Like, in my humble opinion, I'm no one, but I'm just thinking, if Tiffany is indicted, she still can go right back to work the next day, right? Because we see it all the time.
Well, yeah, I mean, Jackson over at Riverdale he was indicted last year, and he's still the mayor. Yeah, he's still the mayor. Keith Freeman has been indicted, and he's still doing his job. So, yeah, indictment just basically means we got you, and you about to go to trial on something we about to charge you. That we charged you with. That's all that is. So okay. Yeah, so you got something over your head, and there's a possibility you could probably be going to jail. Well, right now we'll give you this get out of jail free card until we get enough sufficient evidence to charge you guilty or whatever, because they got to go to court. They still got to go to court. Yeah. Matter of fact, I gotta find out about Jackson's indictment. Where's that at? Yeah,
because he's living free, and I don't know if Thaddeus was indicted, but I know he was questioned some kind of way about campaign funds. I have to look into that. But
yeah, there was an investigation. The FBI just investigated because of some improprieties with the city card. So yeah, that was just an investigation. That wasn't an indictment.
Yeah. And I don't think Tiffany's going to turn it in. I think they're basically like, the jig is up. We're just going to wait for y'all to charge us. We're not turning in anything.
Well, you made a statement earlier that many people may not think it make any sense, but there could be a possibility that when all this is done and she's removed, she may not serve 1 day in jail.
Oh yeah.
She might not serve 1 day in jail. They might just happen to make a deal with her, say, hey, listen, you step down, you give us these people, and you could walk. You could walk. Just give us these people. Just step down and give us these people, and you could walk. I mean, we've seen it done before. People, like I said, Kellogg was the ringleader of that whole thing, and he the only one that haven't spent one day in jail yet. Everybody else, his brother, his cousin, everybody else serving some time.
Wow, I didn't know that. Wow.
Yeah. So yeah, yeah. So there's a possibility that could happen to Tiffany. So
Yeah.
I'm just saying, just don't be surprised if that happens. But I don't know. Maybe she may not be smart enough to take the deal. Who knows?
The whole thing with Dalton is time. Like, it's everything on time. Like, I look at so many things. When we go to the ice skating rink over there in Dalton, the ice skating rink. Everybody complains it's closed, right? Which we know. But right behind it is 2 restaurants coming soon. It's fully built, fully ready to go, but no one tells us what the 2 restaurants are. And I always think, will that be like just rice, as Steve tells us? Just like, will it be a just rice spot, and then a good burger on the other side? No one has asked, even at the meetings, what are we doing with these 2 restaurant spaces? It's a lot of questions I have. But I know things don't happen overnight. I just wanted to point those out. And so that's probably why I was fired up today. So thank you, Gardis, for calming me down, because I was like, I'm coming for all y'all. I'm putting cases on all y'all. But
yeah, and so when you look at what a normal village does, and I just say normal because it doesn't mean that every village is perfect, or because I mean, trust me, I say South Holland has its problems as well. Not as extreme as some of the other suburbs, but we have our problems as well. However, when you come to a village meeting in South Holland, and Miss Mary Avant will attest to that because she came with me last week when we came. It was a full slate. They had like about 12 items on the docket to approve. Meeting lasted for 45 minutes. And that's including public comment. 45 minutes. And it starts at 8. Like people were like, oh my God, that's late. I'm like, listen, we get out of there at 9. At the latest, 9 o'clock. I think the latest I've ever got out of there was like 9:11, and that was only because there was some discussion on certain things that was happening in the village. And yeah, people be wanting to get out of there, and I think they want to get out of there too. And also as well, there's not a lot of dissension amongst the government. As I think I told you before, DeGraff has been mayor for almost 30 years. He has a diverse trustee board. When you're talking about three Black people on it, you have 3 women on there. So it's diverse. So when you're talking about certain things, certain aspects that need to, and this is something that really, really, and this is the first time I've seen this at a South Holland Village meeting. So one of the things that they were trying to do was they were trying to pass a tax. I'm sorry, I was looking at this comment by Big Mike.
Love Big Mike.
Oh yeah. I mean, yeah, Big Mike. He always does that. He really. I mean, I think him and some of the other people, including Tiffany, just they don't think that we read. And I don't know if Keith forgot that I used to work at the township, so I'm not as versed as Stephanie about knowing where the bodies are buried, but Stephanie and some other people I can definitely ask where the bodies are buried. So I may not know where they're at, but I know people who know. So, but there was going back to the South Holland meeting, there was a TIF referendum that they were trying to pass, and it was in the area where where Vincennes is at. And before they took the vote, one of the trustees announced that she was going to recuse herself of this because of the fact that she owns property there. And she basically kind of stepped down and went into the crowd and let the vote go. Because, obviously it was a conflict of interest if she voted yes.
Wow.
So she basically kind of, I was like, oh, wow, this is interesting. This is a first.
That is respectable. I like it.
Yeah, well, I mean, but that's the thing about it is there is, when you have a stable government like that, when you have, these back and forth, and let me also say this too, and I think I might have expressed this as well in South Holland, in the public comments, they actually the government actually responds to you. Like the graph will talk to you, or the trustees will talk to you. So one of the things that I had mentioned about was about the Take Back the Township rally, and I was I spoke in public comment about as a village, are we concerned about what's been going on in Dalton, and especially in the township since it's right across the street from us. And the graph was like, oh yeah, we're definitely concerned about it. However, the one thing is that and I understand the graph when he says that he can't overstep his bounds as a mayor. He understands there's an ongoing investigation and he doesn't want to compromise that. So sometimes the best thing is to do is just to let the process happen. But because one of the things that I said was like, are you guys concerned that the FBI is coming in and out of South Holland, getting records from across the street? Because I'm kind of concerned about FBI coming into the village that I live in. But yeah, everybody was kind of concerned. But public comments, they talk back to you. Well, they don't talk back to you, but they answer your questions if you ask. And then they say, if they can't resolve it at that time, we'll, talk to such and such, or come to me and we'll find some time to talk about it. So that's one thing about interacting with the public. Also, too, on some of the referendums that they were trying to pass, do you know that DeGraff reached out to the audience, was like, is there anybody that wants to discuss, this particular referendum? And it was actually the first time I noticed that. Maybe I, I've been to a couple of South Holland meetings, but I'd never noticed this until I started paying attention to Dalton. But then it was like, it came back to me, like, wow, they let you talk about this?
Okay. And a side note, Gardis, do you remember the last board meeting we had in Dalton? She said she was doing some kind of project with the graph on Greenwood on 154. She mentioned that. Okay.
Yeah, I remember that. Somebody commented, no, South Holland meetings are not on the internet. Sorry, you have to come. But here's another thing too. Comments are only for residents. That's one thing that they do, that they are strict on. Comments are only.
I think that's fair.
Yeah, so it's only for residents, but they will, like I said, they will respond to you if you ask a question. But yeah, so when you have, like I said, stable government, no arguing or backbiting, no. I want to be queen or king, or, I'm trying to get this done, trying to get that done. So it's a very streamlined process. Berg, I don't know how long you're gonna be on here, but I'm gonna have to step off for a minute.
Well, thank you so much for joining us in the middle of your work day. You enjoy, Gardis. Thank you so much.
All righty then. I'll talk to you later.
You have a good one.
All right.
Gardis Watch, you guys, we love to hear from him. And I want to add, like, how they say that South Holland, okay, so it's not online. So I think that's good. I think Dalton became online like during the pandemic. I think that was something that Trustee Ed Steve might have helped implement. But and I think that's a good thing, because a lot of people, you guys, Dalton has a large elder community. We even have we have 2 senior centers. Oh, I got tongue tied. in Dalton. I'm gonna have to go in a little bit because my clients are pulling up. But we have 2 senior centers in Dalton. This is important. We have the Dorchester, then we have like a regular, just like assisted living on Indiana Street. So it's good to have those board meetings taped or videoed, right? But I think I love that it's only allowed for public comment, which will mean Michael A. Smith can't jump up there and comment. Keith Price can't jump up there and comment. Anyone that is not living in the village of Dalton, they're taken away from the residents' comments, right? As Steve says, questions are answered at the secret squirrel meetings. That is true. That is true. How are they tracking that you are a resident? That's a good, because that's our 4th Amendment, right? Big Mike, good question. I'm learning. And Big Mike, don't be over here trolling talking about Ed Steve. Are you supporting Steve? Big Mike, get on up out of here. You know Ed Steve is not. But yeah, guys, I'm so fired up because I'm gonna be honest. I'm always gonna be honest with you guys. This weekend, I took a hit as a Daltonite and as a commentary person. And I'm just gonna tell you my truth. I know things are business, but I don't know if you guys know a lot about me. I delve in PR. I delve in Hollywood. I have a background. Let me just be honest. I try to play it down. I have a background in public relations. I have a background in Hollywood. I have a background. I have a track record. I ain't say I had a degree, but I have a background. Okay. I have been all over the world, traveled a lot of places, different countries, seen a lot of things. The things that I found hurtful this weekend, I'm so glad I found it because it made me realign what I thought about Dalton in the whole and get back to the people, because I sort of was taking sides. And you might, like Garda said, you saw I was fired up today. Y'all, I took 3 days off almost thinking I was calm. I was not, because I don't think it's fair what was done this weekend. And I'll explain later once it's produced for the public. I'm going to allow it to be produced for the public, then I'm going to explain. I feel like it was not fair to the residents, and I feel that Dalton is becoming a classist society. I'm Gucci and Prada, and you city trends. You can't sit with us. And I'm going to make it my mission to stop that. I think it's becoming more messy. We're exposing these people, and you can't laugh at the exposure of someone else and don't think it's going to boomerang right back to you later. I hope I'm being clear. So yeah, it's things I want to talk about. So y'all had me fired up today. So, but bottom line, we got down to Prisker Lake, and y'all know it's a lake in Dalton. 95% Black community, and you can't even walk on their property if you wanted to. No, it's not referring to the event in Dalton. Big Mike, email me. Nope, it's not. I wish it was. And I'm going to be clear. I wish it was the event in Dalton. I think it's classism. Yeah. Thank you. It's classism. And I don't like it. And I'm going to say something about it because it's some key playmakers in Dalton that were not invited. And I'm not speaking to me, but other people, we want to make sure we showboat and say we support them, but they're not invited. Or we want to support them, but then we go somewhere else and we're not going to do that on Burgundy Blue Commentary Watch. And I only have 98 people walking. I'm not an O'Shea Do Jackson. Watch it. I'm not an O'Shea Do Jackson. I'm not a Pink Book Lessons. I'm Burgundy Blue Commentary. But my vote counts. My vote counts. Just my one vote counts. And I just want the people and the powers that be that know to know classism is not going to be accepted. It's not. You're not going to say this person shop at Dollar Tree and this person shop at Family Dollar and we're inviting them and we're not inviting them. We're going to nip that in the bud now. Okay. All right. Yeah. Yeah. And I just want that clear because those same people that I saw being looked down on this weekend, and I know one person specifically listens to me like, oh, come on, Burgundy. Yeah, I'm saying it. They're being looked down on, but you will still ask them for their vote. So it has to be said. All right, y'all. As always, I can't even say I feel extremely valued because this is how I'm telling you, this classism is real and I'm going to address it. So if they try to sue me,
I got some clothes, I got some jewelry, the rest I got tied up in investments. I ain't got nothing else.
take care of yourself and each other and support Dalton all the way through. Skip Tiffany, support Dalton. As always, take care of yourself and each other. Bye.
Commentary blue, commentary, burgundy, commentary, comment blue, commentary, comment burgundy blue, commentary blue, commentary, burgundy, commentary.